for the Southern Miss nasty bunch defense, Marchant Kenny. For Alcorn State, they come in off a controversial ending on a two-point conversion a year ago in the Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl. For Southern Miss, a team that had a 6-5 record a year ago, but literally 6 points away over 2 conference games from playing for a Conference USA title. Marchant, when you look at this Alcorn State club, boy, they're going to come in tonight with a chip on their shoulder, but also they're going to come in with a lot of talent and a lot of experience in the reigning 2018 SWAC champions.
You look at their roster and you see a lot of NFL caliber talent, especially the 2 skills positions in the back in Noah Johnson and Deshaun Waller. And, yeah, you stress the chip on their shoulder. When they lost that Celebration Bowl last year, if you look at their post-game comments, they definitely were salty after that loss and almost couldn't wait to get to this year. Well, this year is starting tonight with Southern Mississippi.
Speaking of Southern Mississippi, a team maybe the best defense in the country nobody knew about a year ago. Ranked 3rd in total defense across all of the FBS. They come in with a lot of experience back on that defense that'll remind you of your days of the Nasty Bunch.
Oh, yeah, that's a moniker they love around here, the Nasty Bunch. I talked to Coach Jay Hobson, head coach Jay Hobson this week, and he relayed how the Nasty Bunch is one of those names that really sticks through the last 3 decades of college football, just like the wrecking crew at Texas A&M. He's really excited about this defense. They were number 3 in the nation last year. Got a lot of NFL caliber talent on that side of the ball. So if you want to watch something tonight, look at that Southern Miss defense.
Absolutely. It's Southern Miss and Alcorn State from M.M. Roberts Stadium, The Rock, here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. You're watching Conference USA Football on ESPN.
The inaugural class. Visit conferenceusa.com.
And welcome back into The Rock, M.M. Roberts Stadium here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Marchant Kenny, Jason Baker. Marchant, boy, what a game we have here tonight. When you look at head coach Fred McNair and their Alcorn State Ball Club, boy, a team with a lot of confidence. They're going to come in with some swagger, some talent, and some experience.
Oh, last 5 years, 3 SWAC championships, won 5 SWAC East Division titles, been to 2 HBCU Celebration Bowls. I mean, they're loaded at some skill positions with quarterback and running back, and then they've got an NFL talent on the offensive line in Kevin Hall. So Southern Miss has their hands full tonight, so look for a pretty spirited game.
Southern Miss will receive this football to start the football game, so we will see that Southern Miss offense led now by a new offensive coordinator in Buster Faulkner. He comes in from Arkansas State. College football junkies will know they're one of the premier offensive programs in the country. This Southern Miss club led by quarterback Jack Abraham. We had a chance to talk to Jack back on Wednesday this week. Abraham's just a guy, boy, he just looks like a quarterback, plays like a quarterback, led this country in completion percentage a year ago. Abraham can be awfully good for the Southern Miss offense here in 2019.
Oh, Jack Abraham's a cool customer in the pocket, so it's going to be a key for Alcorn State to get him rattled and to get that defensive front into the backfield for him and definitely make him lose his cool.
Corey McCullough will be the kicker tonight. He's a 5'11", 175-pound senior from Louisville, Mississippi. McCullough will have an opportunity for some history tonight, Alcorn State history. He needs just 1 field goal to become Alcorn State's all-time field goal kicker. So we'll see how that plays out through the ball game. Back deep for Southern Miss is Jalen Adams, along with, it'll be 23, D. Baker, the 3rd-string running back for Southern Miss. And we are underway in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. It will be Adams from the 11. Adams takes it going left. He's got room. 45-50. Adams trying to go 89 yards. Welcome back to college football, Jalen Adams. No flags on the field, and what a start to the college football season. Jalen Adams, a young man who was off to a great start a year ago and got hurt. An 89-yard kickoff return, Marchant, to start the season for the Golden Eagles.
Coaches talk about setting the tone for the season on the first play of the game. Well, Jason, it doesn't get much better than that for a coach, and there you go, 6-0 Golden Eagles with the extra point on its way.
Boy, and you look at the replay and the cut by Adams, and down the sideline he goes. freshman kicker on to put it through is Andrew Stein, the freshman out of Slidell. Southern Miss leads it early in this one, 7-0 here to start, thanks to the 89-yard kickoff return by Jalen Adams. And Adams, a guy, I've even said this to you, Marchand, the offensive struggles a year ago, a lot of it was placed on the offensive line, but in my opinion, things changed for this Golden Eagle club a year ago when Adams went out. He went out with an ankle injury, and boy, you see his impact immediately right there. Went left, found a seam, cut it back right down the near sideline. He was gone.
Some guys have speed. Some guys just have that ability and knack of where they're at on the football field. He has a good combination of both, and you saw it right there. He saw the hole, bursted through it. That'll make any special teams coach very happy.
What a start to the college football season for Southern Miss. It's going to be Andrew Stein to kick it off for the Golden Eagles. Javen Morrison is back deep, and Stein, boy, he boots this one through the end zone over the head of Morrison. So now a look at that Alcorn State Braves offense. Here's the replay as well of that Adams return. Adams going left, cuts it back right, Marchand.
Yeah, you can see that breakaway speed take place right there. That's something you just can't coach. It's just raw ability. He's gone for 6 points.
Welcome back to college football for Jalen Adams. Here's Alcorn State's offense, where they're led by a 4-year starter, a young man recruited by the head coach of the Golden Eagles, Jay Hobson, during his time at Alcorn State. Here's Noah Johnson, the redshirt senior out of Tampa, Florida, played at Armwood High School. Johnson will bring a man in motion. Johnson looking out to throw. It's caught. That's Chris Blair. And Blair's going to have an 11-yard pickup for a first down. Blair, an interesting story. A young man committed to Mississippi State out of junior college. A head coaching change in Starkville changed his decision on where to go to school and decided to come on and play at Alcorn State.
Well, I've seen quotes this week about talking about Blair being a special player. And you saw it right there. And one thing the Golden Eagles really need to be careful of is letting Johnson settle into the pocket. They've got to pressure him because he has a big-time arm.
Got a penalty on the field. There you see the Alcorn starting offense. Here's our head referee, John Nolly. That Alcorn starting offense, they return 4 of 5 starters on the offensive line. The new guy in there is Michael Ajumobi. Ajumobi, the new guy, but they like him as well. Fred McNair on his teleconference this week with us talked about how special Ajumobi can be as well.
Absolutely. Also on that offensive line, please take a look at number 62, Kevin Hall. Probably the best NFL prospect on the team.
Here's Noah Johnson. He'll show you what he can do as he turns the corner on an option. As he'll say, he steps out of bounds out near the 38-yard line is where he'll spot it. Just a pickup of 3.
When it comes to option plays, defenders have certain responsibilities. Somebody forgot to get the quarterback right there. And Johnson has breakaway speed, so they better be careful.
That'll be a big key tonight, because that's a play they're going to want to run from that offensive system, kind of an RPO type thing, a read option. And Johnson might be the faster back in that backfield at the quarterback position, possibly has more speed than his running back, Deshaun Waller, who's to his right. This is Waller. Nice move, and boy, he is bottled up, chopped down and stopped. Number 6 on that Southern Miss defense coming up to make the tackle. That's the Sam linebacker, Santrell Latham, who they really like. He appeared in all 11 games a year ago for this defense.
Absolutely, and right there, defensive coordinator Tim Billings won't like to see his wolf position. Torrance Brown missing that tackle.
Our referee, John Nolly, says a chop block is the penalty call. So that will back the Alcorn State Brave offense back up. They were not a team that was penalized a lot last year. Just 117 penalties on the year. By the way, Southern Miss just had 60 on the year. Both teams really kept their penalty statistics down.
2nd and long is not something you want to be in this early in the game on the road in a tough environment. That's for sure. So Fred McNair not happy right now with this.
So Noah Johnson stands in, swings out. This is Waller, and he is gobbled up and stopped. Boy, that's DQ Thomas. They like Thomas. For that nasty bunch defense, Thomas plays the nickel back position. They say possibly, from Tim Billings' words, possibly the most athletic player on that defense. And here's another look.
Well, this defense is what they call a 4-2-5, 3-4 hybrid look. They do a lot of stuff. It's almost a tough defense to figure out for an old football guy like me, but that nickel position is very important. DQ Thomas has a lot of speed, and they can move him all over the field.
Third down and 25. Not a lot in the playbook for this. Noah Johnson will take the snap under pressure, and he's going down. They're going to get to him, and that's Terry Whittington, who comes up with the sack. He played for this Alcorn State Brave defense a year ago.
What a story right there. Transferred from Alcorn State. We went to practice this week, Jason, and one of the guys that stuck out as far as, man, look at that guy, how he looks in pads. It's Terry Whittington. And he obviously has that athletic prowess to go with it.
Yeah, he beats Deontay Brooks, his former teammate, the left guard, on just a design pass rush by Whittington. McCullough handles the punting duties as well. He's a yard deep into his own end zone and gets off a spiraling kick away from the dangerous Jalen Adams. And they will mark it out near the 43 when we come back. The Southern Miss offense. This is Conference
for football.
Seven 0 Southern Miss on the Jalen Adams 89-yard kickoff return to open this ball game. And then a defensive stop. Southern Miss has got the football back in Alcorn State territory. An offense a year ago, 99th in the country in total offense at 367 yards a game. But boy, the guy with the trigger man, the quarterback, Jack Abraham, led the country in completion percentage. He's going to swing it out wide here to Tim Jones. And Jones gets it inside the 35. They really like Jones out of Biloxi. A big, strong, powerful slot receiver in this offense.
Yeah, they refer to him in the Southern Miss receiving corps as their bodyguard. A tough guy along with being a heck of an athlete. And a good play right there for Jack Abraham, getting settled in with just a little swing pass.
Travinsky, Mosley in the backfield, play action pass. This is Adams who had the return. He'll get it out wide, but a penalty flag on the play from the far sideline. Indication going to be a hold on that Southern Miss offense out on the edge. I think they're going to get Tim Jones for a hold, I believe.
I think that was Tim Jones out there. Very aggressive blocker as well as a receiver. That happens sometimes when you get overly aggressive, but, you know, that will drive a coach up the wall. Have to go back 10 yards.
Yeah, that's a big penalty on second down for this offense. A lot of folks will be interested. This Southern Miss running game, that's what really plagued them. They were 120th in the country in rushing the football a year ago, just 112 yards per game. Empty set here. That's Mosley, the running back in motion. They're going to swing it out to Mosley. And Travinsky going absolutely nowhere. Just an absolutely great tackle made by 21. That was Jawan Taylor, the 5'11", 200-pound junior. He's a JUCO transfer out of Northeast Community College who made the stop in the backfield there.
Jackson, Mississippi native right there, flying to the football, putting Southern Miss in the third and long position.
A year ago on third down, they converted at 53% of the time. Abraham in the gun. Jack takes a low snap. Stands tall in the pocket, delivers a strike to Jones. Boy, look at him fight for the first down. Tim Jones down to the 30-yard line of Alcorn State. And when they give Jack time, Marchant, he's really accurate inside a pocket. And that time, a great job by the offensive line.
Jason, I said earlier tonight, he's a cool and collected quarterback in the pocket. He needs to be rattled to not be as accurate, that's for sure. And there he goes again.
Here's Mosley out in the flats. Mosley going to get it all the way down close to the 10-yard line. Mosley is going to be a guy who could really develop later in the season. He's a sophomore out of Shreveport, Louisiana. He's actually shaken up on the play. Trainer Tom.
Guaranteed. Book at Hampton.com. Hampton by Hilton.
Back in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Jay Hobson, the head coach, who also coached across the other sideline for Alcorn State. Matter of fact, he was 21-15 while at Alcorn State as a head coach.
Tremendous respect factor between the two head coaches here for sure.
First down and 10. Abraham will keep it himself on an RPO, and he is dropped for a loss. That's going to be Mikhail Webb, the junior linebacker out of Cleveland, Mississippi, who makes the stop. Webb, a young man who had 14 tackles a year ago for this Alcorn State defense.
Southern Miss likes to spread you out, but definitely want to keep you honest on running plays like a speed option or keeping it on the ground.
So Steven Anderson, the new running back, boy, he's the pounder, 6'2", 242. He's to the right of Abraham. Jack here will deliver a shot as he is leveled. That was a big hit applied by the safety, 15, Kayron Kinsler. They call him KJ, out of Muscatine, Florida, who came up and absolutely leveled the wide receiver Trevor Terry. But we do have a penalty flag on the field.
Kinsler only had 2 pass breakups last year, but there's one that the Eagles wide receiving core will remember.
A roughing the passer penalty as a late hit on Jack Abraham. Tate Watley, the quarterback into the ball game, the backup quarterback, who appeared a year ago, actually started 3 games for this offense. A running style QB who will run the RPO here. Watley will go inside the 5 before he's tripped up.
Well, Tate Watley has some talent. Last year, some of you may remember, he was the number 4 ESPN Play of the Day versus Charlotte. He's got talent.
Sure does. And he led the Golden Eagles to 2 wins in those 3 starts. A win over Marshall, a win over Louisiana Tech. He was the starting QB in that loss to UAB. That's one of those 2 controversial, or not controversial, but one of those 2 close losses that really led this team to that 6-5 record. Here's the handoff to the big man. This is Anderson. Boy, look at him fight for yards. All 242 pounds of him. Fights up the middle of that offensive line, but led by the sophomore center, Trace Clough.
Alcorn start up the middle. You see Anderson, he's a load to bring down. Watching him in practice this week, he was someone that I don't think I would want to have tackled back in the day. So it takes a lot to bring him down with the entire Alcorn defense swarming to the football as best as they can.
And another new tailback into the ballgame with the injury to Travinsky Mosley. Jordan Kemp has checked into the ball game, but a timeout on the field. The timeout charged to Southern Miss. So Jay Hobson wants to talk about it here on 3rd and goal from the 4. And this offense has got some weapons. You see him going in with Watley, Abraham back available. You've got Anderson back there who's a load. And right now kind of missing their everyday starting tailback with Travinsky Mosley, who was just hurt a moment ago after a pass reception. But this is an offense that's got plenty of weapons. One of them, though, they are missing tonight. Quez Watkins not in this starting lineup. The leading receiver from a year ago will serve a 2-game suspension to where we will not see Watkins in a Golden Eagle uniform for today or next week, but he'll make an appearance on the road at Troy in week 3.
Getting back to that quarterback position, you knew you'd see both quarterbacks. Conference USA Media Days this year, Coach Hobson had great things to say about Abraham and Watley. He referred to Jack Abraham as reminding him of San Francisco quarterback Nick Mullins, and Tate Watley reminding him a little bit of that dual-threat quarterback many of you may know as Brett Favre.
So Abraham in the shotgun here. It is Kemp, the running back to his right, the redshirt freshman. Abraham rolling out to his right. He will throw it up for a jump ball. It is incomplete. Nice defense and pressure applied. That was the linebacker for Alcorn State who applied the pressure that time. Mikhail Webb again, who's already made a couple of tackles in this ball game.
That's key to a defensive coordinator and a defense being good in the red zone. Alcorn State definitely hang their hats on shutting the Southern Miss offense down inside the 10.
So Andrew Stein already has his first point after attempt of his career after the Adams PAT. Here he will attempt A 20-yard field goal attempt, the first of his career, and it's good. Southern Miss on top, 10-0 here with 7:33 to play in the opening quarter in a drive that they convert points. Probably not the points they wanted, but points nonetheless for the Southern Miss offense.
Well, Alcorn's a team you definitely have to try to jump on early because they've got a lot of weapons. And one thing, like we said in the broadcast early, they've got a chip on their shoulders. Don't expect them to look up and say, oh, no, it's 10-0, we're on the road. No. Expect them to come fighting back. That's a Fred McNair team for you.
Yeah, it's a team that has won 5 consecutive SWAC East Division titles. They're picked to do it again. They're picked to win their 6th. They've had 3 wins in their history versus FBS teams all time. They haven't had one since 1994 where they knocked off Troy. The last near upset they pulled was in this building, led by Jay Hobson, against this Southern Miss club. That was in the last matchup between these two schools. It was a 26-20 victory that Southern Miss had to hold on for back in 2016. A strong kick off the foot of Stein and a touchback by Javen Morrison. And here comes that Alcorn State Brave offense for just the second time. Boy, it seems like Southern Miss has had this football all throughout this first quarter. The kickoff return by Jalen Adams, the long possession there by their offense, led by Jack Abraham, converted by the 20-yard field goal by Andrew Stein. Here's a second look at Noah Johnson, who was the SWAC Offensive Player of the Year last year. He's picked to do it again this year. Recognized all throughout the FCS as one of the top players all throughout the FCS, Marchand.
Well, this offense in the offseason for Alcorn State, they were being compared to those Steve McNair days in the 90s when they were putting up all sorts of yards.
Here is Deshaun Waller, who is gobbled up and stopped. That is DQ Thomas again on another tackle for Southern Miss. Waller, an interesting story. 3rd on the depth chart to start the season a year ago. A couple of injuries happened ahead of him, and Waller found himself in the regular season game against Southern University with an opportunity for some playing time, and he never let go of the starting role after that.
You talk about a player taking the torch and running with it, became the 2018 SWAC Newcomer of the Year. Just an uber-talented running back.
Noah Johnson with all kinds of time, but we'll look out and find Juan Anthony Jr. here right along the sideline for a beautiful pass completion. Sets up a 3rd down. They converted 36% of the time a year ago on 3rd down. They were 66 of 181. This crowd at the Rock getting loud for their nasty bunch defense.
Look out for a blitz here from that Southern Miss defense. They're definitely showing it with the linebackers up close.
That's Juan Anthony Jr. in motion. Johnson will throw it out, and it is caught. The pass is going to be complete along the sideline. That pass was caught by Radarius Anderson, second leading receiver, a big target, 6'5", 198, and a nice pass completion here, as you see from Noah Johnson on the replay.
Yeah, all quarterbacks like a big target, and to have someone that's 6'5" at your disposal, that definitely makes you feel a little bit more comfortable back there in the pocket. Don't be surprised that Noah Johnson just increases his comfort level in this game.
Johnson passed for over 2,200 yards a year ago, swings it out here to Waller. Waller trying to get outside, can't. A solo open field tackle by DQ Thomas, who's got a handful of those already in this ball game. The senior out of Arlington, Texas.
I'll tell you what, there were certain few players on this defense to look out for, and DQ Thomas leading up to this week was one of them. You can see him open field tackle, pulling the guy down, a sure tackler and a sure athlete right there.
Well, that's how you do it, right? Stay under control. He was forcing him outside to the boundary and then went and attacked him, made the tackle.
Absolutely. Coming from inside as a defender, you want to play that inside out, let the outside guy, like a cornerback, get that outside play. So just force him and do your job.
Read option play here, and Waller takes it, a nice spin move, but nowhere to go. Boy, this Southern Miss defense at the moment just all over the place. Tough sledding for this Alcorn State offense at the moment. No gain on that play, brings up a 3rd down and 10 officially.
talking to defensive coordinator Tim Billings this week. He takes a lot of pride in that nasty bunch defense. And so far, so good for the hype going into this season about this defense.
Yeah, we said on the intro, probably the best defense in the country nobody knew about a year ago. Third nationally in total defense. Third down and 10. Waller to the right of Noah Johnson. Penalty flag flies. Johnson under pressure, and he'll have to let it go into the Alcorn State bench. But we'll see what the penalty flag is here. Appears to be going against Southern Miss.
Whittington, one more time right there. I'll tell you what, he's a force to be reckoned with from that wolf position.
So an offsides indication takes this from a third down and 10 to a third down and 5 now. That opens up the playbook a little bit more for this offensive coordinator, Elliott Ratton, who is also the offensive line coach. So many intertwined type stories between these two coaching staffs. Their offensive line coach from a year ago for Alcorn now coaches the offensive line for Southern Miss, and Ryan Stanchek. Ryan was the college teammate of now QB coach for Alcorn State, Pat White. Here's Noah Johnson, who will fire it out and have the first down. What a job by his wide receiver. That was Nigel Wood, another big target of this wide receiver core, a 6'4", 230-pound wide receiver who moves the sticks out of Poplarville, Mississippi, in a nice dart thrown out of the hand of Johnson.
Absolutely. Talk about a good quarterback coach, quarterback combination. The quarterback coach, Pat White, for Alcorn State, arguably the greatest quarterback in the history of West Virginia football, getting to coach a talent like Noah Johnson. So you can kind of see Noah Johnson doing some good things.
Yeah, here's a handoff to the tailback. That is Nico Duffy, the running back, going to the right side before he was chopped down. Tackle made by Ty Williams, the cornerback. And look at this chop as Williams comes down. This is how you do it from a cornerback position.
Oh, absolutely. You want your cornerbacks to come up and be physical. A lot of times the secondary guys, maybe known as cover guys, but no, in a defense under Coach Billings, you have to be aggressive and you have to have your corners come up and play the run.
Williams, the senior out of Charleston, Mississippi. Jay Hobson's gone on record before to say the year that he recruited him out of high school, he felt Ty was the best cornerback in the state of Mississippi. Johnson on his back foot, wings it out. Another catch. Radarius Anderson, that's that big target again. Down into the Golden Eagle territory. To the 36-yard line goes the 6'5" wide receiver out of Oakland, Tennessee. He had 3 touchdown receptions a year ago, and a nice touch by Johnson on this throw.
Absolutely. If you give Johnson time, he's going to do that to you all day, especially with a 6'5" target that he has out there.
This Alcorn State offense, they were 13th in the FCS a year ago. They averaged 473 total yards per game. Passing offense was just 187 of that. Nice design play here. This is down to Duffy. Right up the gut. Nico Duffy, the 5'11", 175-pound freshman out of Tampa, Florida.
You can see the offensive line doing a good job right here. Right up the middle for the big gain. 2nd and short.
That's Duffy to the right of Johnson. So the freshman with his college debut. Johnson looks to the Braves sideline. He'll change the play. You see that Southern Miss defense adjust as well. Oh, Duffy slipped down. He had room. Boy, Duffy had room off that right side. He was going to pick up the first down, but his feet went out from underneath him and wound up a loss on the play.
Had a lot of room on that right side. Sometimes a running back, you'll see them trip over their feet just due to a little overthinking at times, and their feet don't follow.
Yeah, they were going right off the backside of Kevin Hall. That's their big-time prospect, NFL prospect. He was actually recruited as a defensive lineman by Jay Hobson. Moved over to the offensive line and has really paved the way for some running game for this Braves offense. Here's Johnson going right, and he'll have the first down for the Alcorn State QB, who goes down, I believe, hard into the wall over there. Johnson appears to be okay.
Yeah, that side of the Alcorn State offense doing their job. You can see that side of the defense for Southern Mississippi getting pinned down, and you definitely want to keep your leverage on the outside. First down, Alcorn State.
Boy, he is hard to contain. Rushed for over 1,000 yards as a QB a year ago. Had over 3,200 total yards of offense by himself. He's dangerous doing this as well, scrambling. This time, Southern Miss stays with him, and he will have to throw it away.
Santrell Latham, a very athletic linebacker, putting pressure right there on Johnson. Latham can play both inside spots. Talking to Coach Billings this week, he moves very, very well. A guy in the hybrid defense that Coach Billings has, that you like to have on the field.
So got to be careful of a couple of things here. One, Johnson's running ability if you're Southern Miss. If you're Alcorn here, that's really what you want to do. They love to put Noah out on the edge and give him that opportunity to pass or run. Here, the handoff to Waller. And Waller gets it inside the 25. Not a lot of room.
Trying to run off of big number 75, Darius Davis, who's called a road grader on that Alcorn State offensive line.
The tackle was made by Darius Kennedy, the linebacker for Southern Miss. They really like DK. And I believe we've got a timeout on the field. Not exactly sure who the timeout is charged to. Oh, excuse me, that's the end of the first quarter. So into the first quarter, an 89-yard kickoff return. The difference in this one, this is Conference USA Football.
In the throne of all thrones, the ultimate rivalry throne.
(10-0) Southern Miss as we start the second quarter. An 89-yard kickoff return by Jalen Adams, and then the Andrew Stein 20-yard field goal. But watch out, Marchant. Here comes their quarterback, Noah Johnson, the SWAC Offensive Player of the Year. He's hot. 7 of 8 throwing the football for 36 yards right now.
Noah Johnson has a tattoo on his shoulder with the initials BH, which stands for Be Humble and Be Hungry. And it looks like he's very, very hungry right now.
Yeah, boy, he is settled in, and a big third down opportunity here. He's dangerous doing this. Running to his left. He will throw it out and out of bounds. Boy, that's smart job by Johnson to not take the loss of yardage. It's going to set up the opportunity for Corey McCullough to become the all-time field goal kicker in Alcorn State history.
An amazing story right here, too, with Corey McCullough. His sister, Erin, has cerebral palsy. She can't walk or talk. He has a tattoo of Erin on his bicep that's outlined in pink, her favorite color, and also a green ribbon on tattoo as well to represent recognition for cerebral palsy. He was more or less quoted saying, "I kick very well because Erin can't walk." I mean, they're a very, very tight brother-sister duo.
40-yard field goal attempt off the foot of McCullough, and he has pushed that one to the right. No good. So history will await some more on a missed field goal by Corey McCullough. 10-0 Southern Miss. This is Conference USA Football.
Sorry. Sorry.
We're back at M.M. Roberts Stadium. 10-0 Southern Miss tonight. You see a shot of head coach Fred McNair. The original Air McNair, hired once by head coach Jay Hobson while at Alcorn State.
Coach Jay Hobson told us at a press conference this week that unless Southern Miss is playing Alcorn State, he does cheer for Alcorn State every week. One of his first hires when Coach Jay Hobson was the head coach at Alcorn State was Coach Fred McNair. They have an excellent relationship. But today, they are enemies on the field.
Hobson said he enjoyed his time in Lorman as much as any place out there. So substitution opportunity here. Yeah, that's by rule. You see the umpire there holding up the snap a late substitution by Southern Miss. That was allowed to give the defense an opportunity to substitute in. Running backs on either side. That's actually Jalen Adams on the left side of Abraham, and boy, he is whacked down. That was the linebacker Solomon Muhammad making the tackle, a Buck Buchanan Award watch list nominee. And boy, Marchant, this looked like you. Here's another look. Well, that's a replay of Anderson's hard shot earlier in the ball game.
Well, I tell you what, we'll be getting Muhammad's replay, but waiting to call his name, you knew you would. And we called it big time right there. He's definitely an NFL prospect. He holds down the middle just as good as anyone in all of college football.
Yeah, he was the only player from the SWAC that was on that watch list. Here's a miscue on the snap by Southern Miss. I think Clopton snapped it with the encroachment from the defensive line, but no penalty call. So it is going to be a loss of play. That was a live football. You can see Clopton giving the indication, the sophomore center out of Brookhaven. Trace is giving the indication to his coaching staff. He thought he had gotten the encroachment penalty, but he was not granted that.
You know, it's early in the season. Every now and then you'll see sloppy plays, but that's an inexcusable play by the Southern Miss offense, driving the coach crazy, losing a third down conversion.
Juan Anthony Jr. back deep to receive for Alcorn State. Zach Everett back to punt it away. Everett's hit a beauty. And a nice catch by Juan Anthony Jr. in traffic at the 41. It'll be the Brave offense when we return. This is Conference USA Football on ESPN.
Are back. So all hail the Queen of Spice. That's right. And get a free 6-piece when you mobile order through the app. Bring them back.
Mississippi, and what a great crowd in the M.M. Roberts Stadium here tonight to watch these two teams meet for just the third time all-time. Southern Miss owns the all-time record 2-0. They've had victories in 2009 and 2014. It was the last meeting between these two schools.
Harping on the atmosphere tonight, they call this place The Rock, and it's a slogan that Southern Miss loves to announce to fans, and they're announcing it to a pretty big crowd tonight.
Waller with the 4-yard pickup out to the 45-yard line. A young man who, boy, he just doesn't lose yardage, always falls forward. A year ago, Deshaun Waller, listen to this statistic, through 187 carries, had 1,215 yards, only had 28 negative yards charged to him all year with those carries last year. And look at there, the broadcasters jinx as Ty Williams gets him for a loss of 4. Williams, we've seen him a couple of times make some plays. An excellent tackling corner for the Southern Miss defense.
Williams definitely knows winning football, part of the 2017 National Championship team from East Mississippi Community College. And he's showing off for that Southern Miss crowd tonight.
Yeah, Williams, 5'10", 163-pound corner out of Charleston. Another third down opportunity faces the Braves. They're 3-5 on third down conversions tonight.
Don't be surprised right here. They look for Rodarius Anderson or Nigel Wood as big targets.
Johnson under pressure. Here comes the defense, and Johnson's going down. A sack back at the 35-yard line. Getting there first was number 28, Swayze Bozeman, the Copiah Lincoln Community College transferee here into Southern Miss.
Learning more about Swayze with a very cool name, Swayze Bozeman. He can play both inside spots. They like to have him on the field flying all over the place, and you can see he stepped up and made a great open field tackle.
Yeah, had 133 total tackles while at Colin in 2 years in the Mississippi Junior College Football League. Jalen Adams back deep to receive this punt. He's already had a kickoff return tonight. Corey McCullough. Oh, man, this one way over the head of Adams. This is going to be all the way inside the 5-yard line. He's pinned the offense back deep. It'll be Jack Abraham when we return. Conference USA Football on ESPN.
For the best price guaranteed, book at Hampton.com. Hampton by Hilton.
so far by that Southern Miss defensive staff led by their head coach Jay Hobson. Just 44 total yards of Alcorn State Brave offense allowed so far in this ball game.
Oh yeah, there's a reason they call them the Nasty Bunch, and they're definitely taking pride in that moniker today. They've been 3 straight seasons the top 25 defense, and starting to tone very well for this season.
So after a 59-yard punt by Corey McCullough, he pinned the Southern Miss offense all the way back to their 6. Now a handoff to Steven Anderson, the big running back out of Florida. Anderson, a converted quarterback who was once going to be a tight end and then changed over to running back. Here's Anderson again. Boy, look at him fight for yardage. It takes a host of Braves to get Anderson down, led right there by the big nose tackle in the middle of that offensive or defensive line, Chris Monroe, a local kid out of Petal.
6'1", 280, holding the fort down right there. You talk on defense, gap integrity, and he definitely held his ground right there.
Well, you saw him really kind of keep his outside arm free, and as Anderson popped through the hole, Monroe let go and just immediately went right to Anderson.
3rd and short situation right here is where Abraham has excelled in the past.
Handoff to Steven Anderson, fighting for that yardage. Boy, it's going to be awfully close. I don't think he got it. A great job by that Alcorn State defense. That linebacking core this time knifing in there. That's Solomon Muhammad. He was a SWAC preseason Defensive Player of the Year nominee. Muhammad owns a host of career tackles and great vision. Watch Muhammad here come knifing in and making the stop.
Yeah, he has NFL scouts buzzing. Watching him on film, he's all over the field. You can see him right there, what he's capable of, because Steven Anderson is not an easy back to bring down.
Everett, a wobbly kick that's going to hit down and take a fortunate bounce for Everett down to the 40-yard line of Alcorn State. That's where Noah Johnson and his offense will take over. This Alcorn State offense being efficient through the air, 7 of 9 for 36 yards, but it's been the ground game that's yet to get going. Just Nico Duffy with 10 yards rushing so far. Waller with just 3 on 5 carries. Johnson's actually being held right now to negative yards rushing from his quarterback position. The Southern Miss defense was awfully good against the rush a year ago. They were one of 4 teams in the FBS to not allow a 100-yard rusher. The other 3, Marshall, Alabama, and Clemson. Here's a pitch out. This is the Nico Duffy. Duffy knocked down. That's DQ Thomas again with the stop.
DQ Thomas showing that speed that he has and not scared to put his head in there. It's definitely a combination you want from a defensive back. That's why they have him all over the field all day.
Really like DQ. Boy, he was behind an NFLer and Picasso Nelson a year ago. Picasso currently on the Jacksonville Jaguars roster through training camp. Blitz coming from the Southern Miss defense and a pass out over the middle and drop. That was Duffy, the intended target, the running back. Has it fall in and out of his hands, incomplete. Just the 3rd incompletion from Noah Johnson so far.
Sometimes with an aggressive defense like Southern Miss, they like to get after the quarterback. You do those crossing routes, but couldn't get the connection going right there.
Another 3rd down opportunity for this Alcorn State offense. 50% conversion rate so far. They're 3 of 6.
These 3rd down situations, this is where if you're going to call yourself the Nasty Bunch, this is where you're going to try to step up.
And a timeout called by Alcorn State. Their defensive coordinator wants, or rather their offensive coordinator wants to talk about it. We'll come back with Alcorn State's offense and a 3rd down after this. This is Conference USA Football on E.
Is made for football.
This Alcorn State defense has really kept their team in it, holding Southern Miss to just 3 offensive points. A special teams touchdown really been the difference in this ballgame, Marchant. Now an opportunity for the Alcorn State offense to convert a big 3rd down here late in this first half.
It's such a capable football team with all the players they have returning.
Oh, and an interception. This is Thomas. Oh, he dropped it. They're going to say he was down. His knee was down. It will be an interception to DQ Thomas, who has been all over this field for Southern Miss in the first half. Only another interception, the first of the year for Johnson, a 10th. He had 9 INTs a year ago. But watch this play here. Somebody got a hand on it. That was Booth. And then a play by Thomas.
And obviously DQ Thomas all over the field. And he won't be able to sleep tomorrow knowing the fact that he didn't get a pick 6 right there. But DQ Thomas definitely showing off with this nasty bunch defense.
We'll see if the turnover creates an offensive spark for Southern Miss. The report from the Southern Miss sideline, Jervinsky Mosley out for the game. So now you see D. Baker into the backfield. Check that, not D. Baker. That is actually Kevin Perkins, the JUCO transfer from Northwest Community College. Here's a pass downfield that is picked off, intercepted on the dive by Alcorn State's Torrance Wilson, the senior from Lakeland, Florida.
Wilson had 2 interceptions last year, making a heck of a play, selling out. You can see the defense, the great coverage. Linebackers getting deep is what you want. And then this pickoff right there.
So Alcorn State's defense, boy, they might be the story of the half. They have kept their team in it. A defense that was absolutely salty a year ago, the 8th best defense in all of FCS. By the way, they led all of FCS and all of FBS in quarterback sacks a year ago. And here, a turnover by Abraham on a poorly thrown ball that is intercepted on the dive by Torrance Wilson.
Well, this team overall had unfinished business last year after not winning that Celebration Bowl on that 2-point conversion that was very controversial. So you see this defense playing very salty and with a chip on their shoulders.
Yeah, this is a team with national championship expectations at the FCS level. A handoff to Deshaun Waller, but a penalty flag. So hold where you are, and we'll see what the call is going to be. Ty Williams for Southern Miss indicating. Yeah, an illegal formation. 5 men in the backfield for Alcorn State. For Alcorn State, in terms of penalties, that is their 4th penalty for 27 yards so far in the first half.
Offensive coordinator Elliott Bratton will not like that when they watch the game film tomorrow. A lot of momentum with that pick, and nothing loses momentum faster than a penalty.
Noah Johnson, running backs either side. This is Waller, jump cut, trying to get outside, and he does. He'll dive across the original line of scrimmage at the 20. Ty Williams, another tackle for the cornerback.
Shannon Cho's got tied up inside right there. Hence the runner was able to get another 4 to 5 yards.
Yeah, Showers was just got enough to kind of hold Waller up. Williams cleaned him up the corner and safety combo.
This is where Southern Miss comes with that hybrid look, bringing corner off the side.
And here's Chris Blair, who catches it across the 30. Boy, Blair, a good-looking target, 6'3", 200 pounds. He was their leading receiver a year ago, had 6 touchdown receptions a year ago.
Heck of a talent out of high school, heading off from Mississippi State, decided to go to Alcorn. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, a special player for Alcorn is the way it's described.
Here is Waller, who is going to be gobbled up right at the line of scrimmage. That was Delman Landry, the nose tackle, defensive tackle, rather, for Tim Billings, the defensive coordinator, who's calling a heck of a first half in his own right for this Southern Miss defense.
Delman Landry really excited to start this season. He had a season-ending injury last year after 4 games, so you know he's motivated to show out today.
So 2nd down and 9 now for the Braves. Johnson looking in that pocket, rolling to his right, keeping the play alive. He will fire it wide of his intended target, Chris Blair. That was really another opportunity by the Southern Miss defense to just force Noah Johnson wide, and then the coverage really caused him to just have to throw it away.
One thing you like about Noah Johnson, though, when you do see him on film and a play like that, even though he's pressured and he's outside the pocket, you don't see him make a lot of silly mistakes. He'll throw it out of bounds and get ready for the next play. And now it's 3rd and long.
Boy, he's as good as you'll find. He once had 8 touchdowns in a single ball game back in 2017 against Mississippi Valley State, which tied a school single-game record. Guess who he tied? Steve Air McNair. Anytime your name is mentioned with that kind of company, Marchant, that tells you what kind of player Noah Johnson really is. Timeout called by the Southern Miss defense, as Jay Hobson didn't like the defense or the look that they were giving Alcorn. But back to Noah Johnson for a moment. This is a guy that's got all kinds of potential this year in terms of what they think he can lead this Alcorn State offense to. 13th a year ago. Where I think they can improve is in their passing game. Just 187 yards a game a year ago. I think they've got the wide receivers around Johnson Marchant for Johnson to have a big year.
Well, they've got the big targets out wide that we've already seen make 3 to 4 catches. And then you've got Noah Johnson, obviously, with all that talent. You're running back on side of him. This could be a special offense heading into the season. You couldn't help but hear about the days of the Air McNair and that air raid attack that Alcorn State had. Like you said, anytime you're compared to the McNair family and that tradition, you're something special. And also see this Southern Miss defense starting to adjust their game plan as well, seeing a lot more 3-man fronts. Alcorn State's doing a good job of spreading this defense out. So defensive coordinator Tim Billings for Southern Miss is definitely game planning on the run to try to get to Noah Johnson.
Yeah, here's 3rd down. Watch 47 right there pumping his arms up. That's Terry Whittington, a sack specialist. He had 9 sacks a year ago for Alcorn State, and here he is! Whittington's going to sack his former teammate, Noah Johnson. Whittington with another sack in this ball game. Boy, what a player. In Marchant, he just jumps off the screen at you.
He really does. When we saw him in practice this week, like we said earlier, who's number 47, and we found out quickly who he is, and these fans tonight are finding out quickly who he is. And, Jason, are you a fortune teller because you flowed into that sack very easily?
Well, it doesn't happen often for a broadcaster that way. I was more expecting Alcorn to run around Whittington, but nice play by Terry from that wolf position. McCullough gets off a punt. He's hit back there after getting off the punt. No penalty called. Boy, the referee, John Nolly, he was blocked. They're saying he was blocked in 2. So McCullough not given the roughing the punter call. Yeah, here's another look at it. Yep, that's what happened. The Southern Miss punt rush team pushed the Alcorn State teammate into McCullough. And so that, of course, is not enough for a penalty. And we'll see Jack Abraham right there in the middle of your screen, Marchant, bringing his unit back out. Jack, 5 of 7, led this country in completion percentage a year ago. That offensive line so far tonight doing an okay job. So far we've seen a little bit of pressure on Jack a couple of times, but they got to get going rushing the football. Just 8 yards of rushing offense so far for Southern Miss.
Oh, absolutely. But they're trying to put the ball in Abraham's hands. He's highly thought of all around the nation. He worked the Manning Passing Academy, for example, down in Thibodaux, Louisiana.
Here's a pass out to Jones across the 50 from the slot position. That's Tim Jones. They liked him as just a complimentary receiver, inside slot guy.
He had a catch in every game last year, started all 11 games, and continuing that trend this year.
Jones, the junior out of Biloxi, he'll be back. This is a junior-laden Southern Miss team. That's Ladner, the tight end, in motion. Abraham quickly swings it out. This is Jordan Mitchell, a local kid out of Hattiesburg, with the catch. Down to the 41-yard line, and it looks like a late penalty flag is coming in here. And this might be a mental mistake on Southern Miss. We'll see. Look at the replay here on the catch by Mitchell. A late hit. That's charged to Trace Clopton. By my count, that's 2 mistakes on Trace tonight. He had the bad snap where he thought he got Alcorn State in an encroachment penalty, and then an after-the-play personal foul negates the gain by Jordan Mitchell, and now takes it back into Southern Miss territory to their 44-yard line.
Yeah, side note here, I know Trace Clopton's father, Tommy Clopton, who was an equipment manager when I was here in my Southern Miss days, and I don't think he'll like that move right there. So we'll see what happens moving forward.
Clopton was one of only 2 centers and 9 true freshmen to open the season a year ago in all of the FBS. Abraham brings his tight end in motion, all kinds of time. He'll dump it off here to Jordan Mitchell. Mitchell stays loose, breaks the tackle. What a move! Inside the 45. Mitchell stumbling down, and he will lose the football momentarily. It'll be a fight for it, and we'll see who has it. And they're going to say Alcorn State comes up with it. Oh, man, Jordan Mitchell fighting for extra yards. Loses the football at the 45 of the Braves. Watch it here, Marchand. He'll come right into your living room.
Hattiesburgians at this game were definitely excited to see Jordan Mitchell show out after he won that Oak Grove State Championship in 2013 here locally. But then the fumble, Alcorn State gets it.
Oh, boy, you see Mitchell went to grab it and lost it. It slid right out of his grip. Clearly Alcorn State football. There won't even be a look at this one. Recovered by Darrell Henderson.
And number 51, Darrell Henderson, says his favorite TV movie character is Iron Man. Well, he definitely had a little superhero action right there.
3:22 to play. See if Noah Johnson can cut this to a one-possession game. A handoff to Deshaun Waller. And Waller goes up to the 38-yard line. We've talked about the lack of rushing offense for Southern Miss. How about this? Just before that carry, 1 yard of rushing offense for Alcorn State up until that carry by Deshaun Waller.
Both rush defenses really stout today. I mean, both these offenses do want to be balanced, but the stats don't lie. 1 yard for Alcorn State, 8 yards for Southern Miss on the ground.
Johnson in the gun. Dancing to his left, he's going to dump it off to Waller. Might be coming back with a hole. Waller's loose on the far side of the field. Yep, and it is, says our referee, John Nolly. A holding penalty on Alcorn State. That's going to be their 6th penalty.
Watching the defense right now, you see why they're so high on wolf position. Terry Whittington, you've seen him rush Johnson a couple times and get a couple sacks already so far, but they had him actually drop off into a pass coverage position. That's pretty special when you can have a 6'5", 234-pound guy roaming free in the secondary.
Yeah, that wolf position, Tim Billings, defensive coordinator, described it as a hybrid, a linebacker and defensive line. That's what he's got to play both ways. Johnson here leaves it in the belly of his freshman running back, Nico Duffy. And Duffy will pick up positive yards, punished down by DQ Thomas.
We've seen a lot of 3-man fronts out of Southern Miss as this game goes along. Don't be surprised to see more plays like that from Alcorn trying to go up the middle and take advantage of that 3-man front.
I think Billings is going to that because of the threat of Johnson. I think he's got to run more of a contained type defense, Marchand. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
No, absolutely. The threat for Johnson to get outside, especially now that we've gone under 2 minutes, definitely expect to be in the 3-man front right now. But
bobbled snap by Johnson. Then he makes a dangerous throw outside that is going to be caught by his wide receiver, 82, LaCharles Pringle, the redshirt junior out of Goshen, Mississippi. That was a dangerous play. We may take another look at it as Johnson bobbled the snap. His first intended receiver was covered. He waited and then decided to fire it to Pringle, where he was tightly covered by Rayshun Mitchell out on the outside.
Yeah, Johnson, a cool and calm and collected quarterback, like I've been saying, but nothing will slow up an offense like a bobbled snap.
McCullough here gets a high hanging punt. Fair catch called for. He won't even get an attempt with Jalen Adams as it goes out of bounds. Adams' effect has already been felt in this game. He opened the ball game with an 89-yard kickoff return. And if you look at it from a standpoint, that's really the difference. I mean, other than that, the only points to speak of is the Andrew Stein 20-yard field goal in this first half. Both of these defenses which are expected to be the strength of the team, Marchant, have really settled in for this ball game.
I tell you what, if you're Alcorn State right now, you're feeling not so bad about yourself. I mean, really the only thing you've given up big time is the first play of the game. Besides that, they've settled in, and I mean, statistically, it's almost a toe-to-toe matchup, especially here in the second quarter.
Abraham in the gun. He's got Perkins again back there to his left. It'll be Perkins with the carry, and he is stopped. Boy, you want to talk about a defensive line that's beginning to assert themselves. How about this defensive line for Alcorn State?
That was Darrell Henderson once again. I said the Iron Man analogy. Also read that his favorite song is Ready for War. Tell you what, this guy's ready to play today.
Abraham in the gun. Buster Faulkner, the new offensive coordinator for Southern Miss out of Arkansas State, faced with a situation here against a really good defense and under a minute to play in this first half and a 10-point lead. Perkins being moved all around. A swing pass here out to Mitchell. Boy, look at the stop by the cornerback, A.J. Bruce, for this Alcorn State defense. And I tell you, if you're just tuning into this broadcast, we're not breaking any news to you that Fred McNair's defense is salty at best. You see here Bruce coming in to make this stop, and just a nice open field tackle.
Well, I'll tell you what, Southern Miss knew that Alcorn State would be tough competition. I mean, heck, early in the week we talked about it. There was a Conference USA game, UAB and Alabama State on the road in Birmingham gave UAB all they wanted. Well, look what's going on here. This SWAC team, probably one of the best teams in FCS talent-wise, if you ask me, and things we've talked about all week. We tried to tell anyone who would listen, this Alcorn State team is for real, but you're already hearing some restlessness from the crowd.
You knew that this Alcorn State team would come in confident. You know, Jay Hobson brought a team in here, and it was a survival back in 2014 for Southern Miss to get out of here with a win, a 26-20 win the last time the Braves played in this building. And right now they find themselves only down 10. Here's Abraham, back foot throw down the far sideline to Mitchell, and he's got it. That's Mitchell along the sideline. Do they say he is out of bounds? They do, with 37 seconds remaining.
Jordan Mitchell, a definite capable target. Last year at a high against North Texas of 12 catches for 135 yards. You see him right here slip between the two defenders, stay in bounds, hold on to the grab despite the nice hit, and first down Southern Miss.
We've got a stoppage of play. Not sure exactly on what. We'll listen in our referee. They had started the game clock, so they're going to move the game clock back to 36 seconds. They ruled that Jordan Mitchell stepped out of bounds after being hit.
So they missed one timeout in this 2-minute drill.
Yeah, but you have to almost wonder how calculated they'll be here. This is a Alcorn State defense. Look, movement up front. This is where the finger pointing occurs. We'll see who it's on. It's going to be on the Braves defense.
One of the comedy acts in football is who jumped first when the defensive line points to the offensive line, and that was definitely one of those.
Now they're going to charge it. I spoke too soon. Of course, our referee, John Noley, kind of gave me a curveball as he announced offsides, but he meant false start on Southern Miss. That was Drake Dorbeck, the senior left tackle, charged with the false start. So it goes to a 1st and 15 here with 36 seconds to go before the end of the first half. Abraham down the middle of the field, wide open. That's Jordan Mitchell. Mitchell to the house. No, he'll be chopped down at the 7-yard line with 24 seconds remaining here in the first half. What a pass completion to Jordan Mitchell.
Jordan Mitchell's dream all through high school was to be a part of this Southern Miss team, and he's definitely living out his dream with plays like this. You knew he had to step up big, too, this whole receiving core with Quez Watkins out. I
think they're going to say a timeout on the field Yeah, there's going to be a timeout on the field charged to Alcorn State. They take their timeout. They clearly want the opportunity to set their defense up. But going back to Mitchell for a moment, you saw on that last replay they just showed, Mitchell on the break. And the beauty of the play to me is the timing route thrown by Jack Abraham. As Mitchell comes out his break, the ball is waiting for him and allows him to do what he does, which is run after the catch. And just a beautiful job to get his team down inside the 10-yard line.
Well, you hear all the time about the best quarterbacks in the nation on the pro level or the college level that stay an hour or so after practice. Abraham is one of those guys to get timing down with his receivers, and you see right there perfect timing between him and Abraham. And Abraham, big target, tough to bring down. First and goal, Southern Mississippi.
Yeah, and how about the block downfield he got from his teammate in Jalen Adams? Boy, an all-around wide receiver in Adams, blocking for his teammate downfield. First red zone opportunity of the night for either ball club. Southern Miss, Jack Abraham, back foot, under pressure, going to wing it out through the back corner of the end zone, out of play. He'll have another down. Heady play by Abraham. Boy, under pressure, spins out of it. That was Muhammad given the pressure, and he was able to avoid what was the SWAC Defensive Player of the Year in the preseason poll. Abraham avoids him and avoids a crucial mistake.
Well, you see this Alcorn defense getting better and better despite that big play by Mitchell right there, and I think it's due to Solomon Muhammad setting the tone. He is the leader of this defense, the vocal leader of this defense, and the way he goes sometimes is how this defense plays.
Abraham is 11 of 13 for 160 yards in the first half. Shovel pass to Jalen Adams. Adams fighting for yards down to the 3. Southern Miss has a timeout. They're going to spend it here, which will set up a third down. Jay Hobson quickly calls the timeout with 10 seconds left. Nice clock management by this Southern Miss offensive staff. They'll give themselves an opportunity to have 2 plays, Marchant, inside this 10 seconds. A nice play call here to shovel pass to Adams and his running ability to get it inside the 5.
Setting up an interesting scenario right here. You can get 2 plays off, or you can just set it up for the field goal if you want. Do you take a shot at the end zone this first play, or do you do a draw play? There's so much you can do right here, run or pass. Well, what's interesting about this game right now so far statistically, it's kind of flowing like the Southern Miss team of last year in a way. I know they statistically, they were excellent on defense, not so good statistically on offense. You look here, Alcorn State 56 yards of offense. The Southern Miss offense 171 yards. And really only 3 points on the board from this offense because the only touchdown was that big kickoff return to set the tone early in the game.
So here we go, a third down and 2 from the 2. So if you're Abraham, this pass has to get into the end zone, or it has to fall incomplete to give yourself an opportunity for a field goal try. Abraham, quick throw, back shoulder throw into the corner. Is it caught by McLaurin? No, they say he is out of bounds. That was the big target, Neil McLaurin, the senior wide receiver for Southern Miss. And they'll run Andrew Stein back out for his second field goal opportunity of his career. And another look here. Abraham, a beautiful throw. McLaurin just can't stay in bounds.
Football sometimes all about matchups, putting your big receiver on maybe a smaller cornerback. Southern Miss tried it right there, but couldn't get the catch for the touchdown.
So Stein's first of his career was a 20-yarder. This will be a 19-yard attempt. And he's put it through. Andrew Stein, the freshman from Slidell, puts it through to put this Golden Eagle team on top 13-0 to close out the first half. An injured Golden Eagle down on the field after that field goal attempt, but that will end the first half of play that sees Southern Miss with 171 yards of total offense and 13 points. Alcorn State finds themselves with 56 total yards of offense. 13-0 here for Southern Miss from M.M. Roberts Stadium in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We'll be back with much more Conference USA football on ESPN.
These 6 planes are ready. This grandpa's ready. The fans are ready. The teams are ready. Are you ready?
M.M. Roberts Stadium, the sounds of dynamite. The Alcorn State Marching Band putting on a halftime performance, 13-0 Southern Miss. Jason Baker with Marchant Kenny here in the television booth. Marchant, a first half of highlights, and it all got started with Jalen Adams opening up this football game on the kickoff return. And you see the highlight here. Watch the cut in the speed by Adams.
Breakaway speed right there. You talk about setting the tone early, and one thing they did right there is set the tone on the big kickoff return.
Adams, the trendsetter, and then here, talk about a trendsetter. This is Solomon Muhammad with a nice play.
Big NFL prospect Solomon Muhammad started getting that defense really amped up with some plays he made.
And another nice tackle made by the corner, Ty Williams, knifing in. He's had an excellent first half.
Southern Miss defense picking up right where they left off statistically, being the third defense in the nation.
Yeah, the interception by DQ Thomas. They called him down, or it would have been a pick six. And here's the nice play. Jalen Adams and Torrance Wilson, rather, not Jalen Adams. Wilson with the dive and the INT. This is the fumble by Jordan Mitchell as well. Has the ball popped loose. That's your first half highlight. The sounds of dynamite entertaining this halftime crowd. 13-0 in Hattiesburg tonight. Boy, the sounds of dynamite with a halftime performance to remember. Now the pride of Mississippi with their opportunity here at halftime in Hattiesburg, Mississippi tonight. Jason Baker, Marchant Kenny with you here tonight on the broadcast. In a first half about the defenses, Marchant. Each of them kind of settling into their own, including that Alcorn State defense that really did a job holding this Southern Miss offense to really just 2 field goals.
I'll tell you what, we talked pregame all week long, even during the broadcast, about that nasty bunch Southern Miss defense. Well, Alcorn State's looking pretty nasty themselves, led by Solomon Muhammad being all over the field. A defensive line, linebacking core, and the secondary with the pick on Abraham really showing out. So if you like defensive football, you've been in for a little bit of a treat today.
And the Southern Miss defense that you speak of, a nasty bunch style defense, boy, they have been awfully good tonight. Alcorn State offensively, not even over the 60-yard mark in total offense. They have been all over the field. What I've been impressed with is the tackling of the secondary. Ty Williams, DQ Thomas, we have named those guys multiple times making stops in this first half.
From Little League football all the way to this level of football, on defense, you can scheme all you want, but if you don't tackle, it doesn't matter. Fundamentals being shown very good today by Alcorn State. Short tackling is something you have to have, and it's showing up in the stats.
Tim Billings, we had a talk with him earlier this week, the defensive coordinator for Southern Miss. He made the comment to us, right, a year ago didn't matter. This defense had to do it again. They were third last year in total defense, and boy, they are off to a fantastic start led by Tim Billings.
Oh, yeah, Coach Billings was fun to talk about with stats. I mean, he could care less about stats. He's one of those coaches, just like most coaches, are about the process, day-to-day, doing it right. If the stats are what they are what they are, but stats come and go. So the process so far has been pretty good for the defense, but offensively, especially for that Alcorn offense.
Absolutely. A look at the first half stats, just the rushing offense or the lack thereof for both teams. Also a story in this first half. You see Alcorn State with the advantage 8-6 in rushing offense, and that's not a misprint, folks, but just 48 passing yards for Alcorn State. That Southern Miss secondary doing a good job against arguably the best offensive player in the SWAC, and Noah Johnson, the quarterback for Alcorn State. Abraham's gotten going with 165 yards of offense through the air. Southern Miss with the advantage in total offense. Exactly the same amount of first downs. That doesn't shock me. Either team really tearing it up on third down. Alcorn State 3 of 9, Southern Miss 2 of 6. Alcorn State winning the time of possession battle. A lot of that has got to do with that Jalen Adams kickoff return. Southern Miss was actually shorted an offensive possession in that first half with the kickoff return. You don't know how big that's going to be in this ballgame at the moment. Essentially, that's the only touchdown we've seen is that 89-yard kickoff return for Jalen Adams to open this ball game up. Those other notables within the statistics columns, Noah Johnson, 9 of 14 through the air. He has an interception as well. Abraham, 12 of 16, 165 yards through the air. Neither quarterback just tearing it up, but it's got so much more to do with these defenses.
And one stat I would like to hit on is the special teams. A game like this, it's who's punting better, who's kicking better. And Alcorn State kicker, punter Corey McCullough doing a great job with 4 punts for an average of 43 yards, pinning Southern Miss in some bad situations every now and then.
That it is. McCullough, a weapon. He'll have an opportunity to make some history. We'll hope it comes in the second half. 13-0. Southern Miss leaves it. Second half coming up after the break. This is Conference USA Football on ESPN.
Get it.
13-0 Southern Miss. They lead Alcorn State tonight in the college football season opener for both of these ball clubs. In-state rivals between Alcorn State and Southern Miss tonight. Jason Baker, Marchant Kenny with you here at halftime. Marchant, a look towards the second half. What's got to happen for each of these ball clubs in this second half to find success and get a win out of M.M. Roberts tonight?
Well, what really sticks out right now looking statistically is the poor rushing statistics for both teams. Alcorn with 8 yards total rushing and Southern Miss total rushing with 6 yards. I know Travinsky Mosley's injury for Southern Miss definitely hurts that thunder and lightning combination they have with him and Anderson in the backfield. So they've got a game plan in this locker room right now and how they're going to come out and run the ball. Alcorn State, too, really finding a good way to balance Noah Johnson and Deshaun Waller to really open up that running game. So the running game, to me, is what is going to be key for either one of these teams to establish themselves in the second half because statistically, like we said, 14 yards between both teams total rushing. Come on.
Absolutely. Of course, we gave you the statistic earlier. This Southern Miss defense, one of 4 schools in the country last year to not allow an opponent to rush for 100 yards. 13-0. We'll return with the second half from M.M. Roberts Stadium in Hattiesburg. This is Conference USA Football on ESPN. Oh, the Rock is rocking tonight. A great crowd Saturday night under the lights at the Rock here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Jay Hobson's crew leading this one 13-0. But I tell you what, Frederick Nair's club across the way have really come to play. This is an Alcorn State club. Marchant, both you and I feel this could possibly be their only potential loss of the year. It wouldn't shock either you nor I if this is it for this club. They could go on and win out, and it wouldn't shock me. And they're not done possibly with an opportunity to win this game. They're right here in it, a 2-possession game at down 13-0. And it's really been a tale of both of these defenses in that first half. We'll see how they start this second half.
Oh, absolutely. This is where you go in a game plan at halftime, both coordinators from both teams, offense and defensively. It'll be interesting to see what they come out the locker room with. This Nasty Bunch defense has definitely shown out. This Alcorn State defense has shown out. Be a fun setup for the second half to see who pulls away or if Alcorn State can pull a little bit closer.
Javen Morrison, the dangerous kick returner, will be back deep for the Alcorn State Braves. Morrison averaged 21 yards a return a year ago. Andrew Stein, who's had a beautiful debut to his Golden Eagle career right there in the middle of your screen. The freshman out of Slidell, Louisiana, North Shore High School. He's got a couple of touchbacks, and he is collected on a pair of field goals and a PAT. We are set and ready for action here in the second half from Hattiesburg, Mississippi tonight. Stein with another beautiful kick. Well, he'll negate Morrison with the touchback. About 7.5 yards deep in the end zone. And Noah Johnson and company, this Alcorn State offense, you alluded to it at halftime, Marchant. They have got to find a way to get that rushing attack going.
Oh, absolutely. Offensively, no matter if you're running a spread offense or you're in the wishbone, it really doesn't matter. You've got to run the ball. You can't be one-dimensional, and so far they have been. It'll be interesting to see what the offensive coordinator and that coaching crew came up with to answer this nasty bunch defense.
So see what Fred McNair, in his 4th season as the head coach at Alcorn State, 21-15. More importantly, he's 16-7 in the SWAC conference. They are the 2018 SWAC champs. Johnson quickly out to Chris Blair, who is covered by Ty Williams and chopped down after a gain of 7.
Chris Blair, that wide receiver who said was a special player for Alcorn State. They love getting the ball in his hands. Southern Miss definitely game plan for him all week. We have a hobble player right here.
Yeah, Blair, a young man, we've mentioned it a couple of times, was committed to Mississippi State while in junior college. A change at Mississippi State when Dan Mullen left to go be the head coach at the University of Florida. Joe Moorhead comes in. The scholarship offer remained on the table, but Blair decided to go a different direction, and his different direction landed him in Lorman. And in the Alcorn State offense, where he has really excelled, he had 43 receptions for 529 yards a year ago. He was their leading receiver. He'll look to build on what's already been a pretty good night. That was his 3rd reception of the night for 30 yards, averaging 10 yards a catch.
Southern Miss really in that true 3-man front right now, trying to confuse Johnson in that offense.
Triple option there by Noah Johnson as he pitches it off to Deshaun Waller, who moves the sticks for this Alcorn State Brave offense.
Speed option to the short side of the field. It's all about, responsibility. Someone didn't take pitch right there. First down, Alcorn State.
Yeah, they catch our Wolf and Torrance Brown kind of in a bad position. Johnson makes the right read to the pitch to his tailback and Deshaun Waller.
3-man front once again for Southern Miss with the Wolf and the nickel bouncing around.
Got to be careful here. If you're the Southern Miss defense, don't want to watch Noah Johnson get hot to start the second half. He's going to dump this off, and it is going to be nearly intercepted by Southern Miss on the far side. They'll rule it incomplete. That was Booth who was trying to make a highlight-type INT. Somebody got their hands on it right at the line of scrimmage. Somebody had tipped the pass.
I'd like to see the replay again. I believe that was Torrance Brown. Came in the offseason from Penn State. Absolutely, yeah. Torrance Brown. I mean, you talk about a talented guy right there. Southern Miss was excited to get him, a former starter at Penn State at times, now in Hattiesburg.
Johnson from his gun out to his running back Waller here in the flat. A spin down and a tackle. Another one for DQ Thomas, who has been all over the field. I've used that expression too many times probably in the first half to describe DQ. But, man, for a nickel back, this is how you do it. Out in space, and watch DQ Thomas here just come up and make the tackle right there on a shifty tailback in Deshaun Waller.
Great play working inside out by DQ, but really that play happened with the cornerback holding his ground outside, forcing the runner back inside, and DQ cleaned up.
3 of 9 in the first half was Alcorn State on 3rd down. Johnson taking a shot deep. He's got a man. That's Blair, and he's got it. Down at the 30-yard line goes Chris Blair. Blair got behind the corner who is in replace of Ty Williams, the cornerback on that far side. Curry Ben.
We just talked about Blair for a good bit. He's eventually going to get behind you if you go to sleep, and it looks like Southern Miss's defense fell asleep right there.
Tough sledding from the rushing department. Waller dropped for a loss there on the play. But Johnson showing that touch with his arm as well. Flag on the play. We'll see what our referee, John Nolly, says. 12 men on the field here. A defensive substitution. They might have caught Southern Miss in that substitution. That might have been a gamer-type penalty from Noah Johnson to wisely get that snap off while Southern Miss was in between defensive substitutions and get caught with 12 men on the field.
Southern Miss defensive coordinator Tim Billings, that'll drive him crazy. He's big on being good at everything you do, and having 12 men on the field is definitely not being good at what you do.
First down and 5 now for this Braves offense. Things will get a little dicey here with a score by the Braves. Noah Johnson, there he goes, running to his right with room, being chased down, and he will be tripped up out of bounds along that far sideline. Boy, that is what he can do. That is how dangerous Noah Johnson is. He had 1,080 rushing yards a year ago from the quarterback position.
You see Jaquez Turner get upfield and cause the pressure, but you see this all the time in film last year and even tonight, as you can see, Johnson escaping the rush and nearly getting the first down.
The SWAC Offensive Player of the Year a year ago. He was the preseason Offensive Player of the Year coming into this season. And somebody's going to have one heck of a season in that conference to take that title away from Mr. Johnson. Here goes Noah loose, and he's down to the 15-yard line. Boy, he went down hard, but he will get up, helped up by his tight end, Keontez Everett.
Your play action from Johnson to Waller is something you definitely have to respect if you're a Southern Miss defender. Eyes on Waller, but Johnson wound up keeping the football and getting the first down.
Fresh set of downs. This is, I believe, the deepest Alcorn State has been in Southern Miss territory all night. Johnson with Waller. It is Waller. Waller looking for room. Boy, he just cannot find it. What a job by that defensive front for Southern Miss. That was 49, Eric Kitchen.
Out of Batesville, Mississippi, East Mississippi Community College.
Good look at Kitchen there on your screen. He was a JUCO starter for East Mississippi, won back-to-back national and state championships underneath head coach Buddy Stevens at East Mississippi. Injury on the field. That's the stoppage of play at the moment. A loss of 1 was the result of that play. Training staff out to check on the Alcorn State player who is down. We'll take a timeout. 13-0 Southern Miss. We'll return.
Glittery one and the one with doodads. eBay.
Nothing Southern Miss after the injury timeout. A handoff to Waller here and a big stop. Going to set up another third down. Alcorn State with their best scoring opportunity of the night. Speaking of Alcorn State, what a tradition-rich program.
You talk about tradition with Southern Miss with Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers. Well, Alcorn State has tradition of their own with the Green Bay Packer. Former Alcorn wide receiver Donald Driver, the all-time leading wide receiver for Green Bay in reception and reception yards. So you can go toe-to-toe with Green Bay Packer football players between Southern Miss and Alcorn State.
Yeah, and, of course, you couldn't speak to the tradition of Alcorn State without mentioning Steve McNair, the late Steve McNair. It was announced the Titans will retire his number on September 15th, their home opener against the Indianapolis Colts. Handoff to Deshaun Waller with room, and he's in. Deshaun Waller has put the Braves on the board. A 15-yard touchdown run for Deshaun Waller.
Jason, coming out the break, we said the key to the second half is the running game. You know, that nothing debilitates a defense more than right up the middle. And Waller, look at that opening, and he can hit that hole just as good as anybody in America.
Absolutely. Waller bursts through it. Here's Corey McCullough for the point after attempt. It is up, and it is through. 13-7. We got a ball game in Hattiesburg, Mississippi tonight. 10:43 to play here in the third quarter. 13-7 Southern Miss. You're watching Conference USA football action on ESPN. Roberts Stadium tonight on the Deshaun Waller touchdown run from 15 yards out. Don't look now, but Alcorn State's got their running game going. Waller, 13 attempts, 27 yards, and a touchdown. And here is McCullough, who will have his kick dropped by D. Baker. Baker looking to turn the corner, and he is going to be stopped at the 15-yard line. The tackle made by 45. That was Javen Morrison, the cornerback for the Alcorn State Braves coming up to make the tackle. And here's another look at that Deshaun Waller touchdown run.
In the offseason film, you saw Waller with plays last year, left and right. It makes you think, how in the heck did this guy not get major college football offers coming out of Hutchinson Community College in Kansas? Alcorn really the only school that was giving him a big-time shot, and sure enough, he's showing out. And Southern Miss better be careful, because Johnson and Waller's one heck of a 1-2 punch. Arguably the best 1-2 punch on the football field tonight.
The Southern Miss crew and offense has got to get something going. Jack Abraham across the middle. This is Mitchell again. Boy, he's found him a couple of times already tonight. That is Jordan Mitchell's 6th catch to start this second half. Over 100 yards receiving tonight for the Hattiesburg native Jordan Mitchell.
Yeah, a lot of eyes on Jordan Mitchell tonight. He was definitely excited to show up for the crowd, and he's having a pretty good game so far.
Handoff here to Steven Anderson. Anderson bowls his way forward. Boy, look at that, up to the 30-yard line. And Marchant, you said at the half, each of these teams, the key has got to be who can run the football the best. That may be the team who wins this football game tonight.
Well, we're in a nip-and-tuck game right now, and in these type of games, it's who can establish themselves on the ground sometimes and really take control and man up for that opposing defense. Southern Miss definitely does have a player in Steven Anderson who is a bruising running back. And if there's one guy capable of getting the ground game started for Southern Miss, it's Anderson.
A late penalty flag. It came in at the very end of the play, kind of in an odd territory, and a long conversation. Let's hear from our referee, John Noley.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, offense number 68. Unsportsmanlike conduct, defense number 49. The penalty yards will offset. Second down. That's the first unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on both players.
So offsetting unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. So essentially all that for nothing, other than that's the first unsportsmanlike for each player. The reason they talk about that is I believe you're allowed 2 per game, and then you actually are ejected, if I'm not mistaken, by rule of college football.
You never want to see personal fouls, but don't be surprised. The intensity level of this game keeps amping up, especially with all the Mississippi ties between the two schools.
So 1st and 10 is the down and distance at the Southern Miss 30. After that Steven Anderson rush. Abraham, a hard count. He's got Anderson in that pistol set directly back behind him. Boy, we've talked about Steven. He's going to have to be big in this second half. Play action pass, and it's dropped in and out of the hands of Neil McLaurin. Boy, that was a tunnel screen that was set up nicely, and a drop ball by Neil McLaurin.
Set up very nicely. One of those plays where the defense got suckered in, and a slip screen when the defense doesn't read it well can be a dangerous play, and that would have been a big play for Southern Miss, but unfortunately couldn't convert.
So 2nd and 10 after the drop. This Alcorn State defense maybe losing the statistic battle, but right now they have kept their team in it, just down 6. Abraham going up top to Mitchells. He got it, he does! On the dive, Jordan Mitchell into Alcorn State territory. Have a night, number 80. His 7th reception. And take a look at this diving catch.
Going into the game, you obviously had the big void in Quez Watkins, but Jordan Mitchell completely stepping up for this offense and being a difference maker.
And a drop. Boy, Tim Jones might have scored in and out of his hands. Jones on the same slant. That's where they've really worked this Alcorn State defense, is right through the middle of this D.
Well, you kind of see Alcorn State on defense bouncing around, moving a little. That's a show of confidence, getting more aggressive. So what you do there are slant plays and slip screens.
Oh, a busted play in the secondary, but a sack gets Jack Abraham. He doesn't have the time. Alcorn State came with the blitz. Creo Argue, the defensive end out of Crete, Illinois, Independence Community College, from the backside of Abraham.
Interesting note about Creo Argue on one of the Last Chance U, the famous episodes on TV that people are always talking about. He was a part of that at Junior Cret. So if you ever want to see a little bit more about him, check out Last Chance U.
And listen to this Alcorn State crowd in the Rock chanting for their defense now with a 3rd and 17. That was a big play. Argue went right around the block of Ray Ladner, the tight end, for that pressure. Abraham looking to go up top. He will. This is for McLaurin, who's there. He's got it, and he's in. No flags on the field. A 55-yard touchdown strike to Neil McLaurin, the senior wide receiver out of Laurel, Mississippi, in Southwest Community College. Hauls in Jack Abraham's first touchdown pass of the season.
I'll tell you what, the local kids right now showing out in that receiving corps, Jordan Mitchell and the Laurel native right there. And you knew eventually Abraham and that offense would test this Alcorn State defense on a deep ball, and sure enough, cornerback falls down, touchdown, Southern Miss.
Southern Miss with the swinging gate formation. They're going to go in for 2. That Zach Everett, the punter, converts the swinging gate, takes the direct snap, walks it in for 2, and Southern Miss leads it 21-7 here with 8:28 to play here in the third quarter. Another look on this 2-point conversion by the punter, Zach Everett.
Zach Everett, the Conference USA All-Freshman team in 2017. He probably bragged to his friends about that freshman team, but he's going to brag to his friends about that for sure.
For the glittery one and the one with doodads, eBay.
(21-7) Southern Miss after the Neil McLaurin 55-yard touchdown pass from Jack Abraham, the second touchdown reception of McLaurin's career. You'll see it right here. All kinds of time for Abraham.
Well, Southern Miss's offense rather stagnant the whole game, and eventually when you're a coordinator, you're like, hey, let's just throw it up for grabs, see what happens, just open up things. And sure enough, they get a touchdown out of it to the Laurel native.
Yeah, and another look at that 2-point conversion, kind of sneaky by Jay Hobson's crew to go out there and even this one up to a 14-point lead by Zach Everett. Here's the kick. This is Javen Morrison. He's dangerous from this position. He'll be tackled down at the 19-yard line as he hurdles a man. The stop by Terry Whittington on the kickoff team. That's a big player running down the field with a head of speed at Whittington.
Oh, absolutely. And right now, the ebb and flow of a football game is where it kind of gets fun to see how things happen. Alcorn State came out, making the game a bit close, and now it's 21-7 Southern Miss. How does this Alcorn State offense react? This is a very key drive in this game. If they don't make something happen here, you never know, the momentum may be completely swung to that Southern Miss side. So, interesting drive right here for Alcorn State.
Boy, they're led by a 4-year starter. We have sang his praises all night. You see him right there on his screen, Noah Johnson. He's as good as you'll find. Johnson here quickly out to Deshaun Waller, and Waller is chopped down. Ty Williams with another tackle from his cornerback position. DQ Thomas out as well on the stop. Only a gain of about 1. Boy, if you're playing sideline to sideline against either of these defenses, but particularly that nasty bunch, there's just not a lot of room. They have too much speed all over that field to go sideline to sideline.
Oh, look, I heard in the offseason one opposing coach of Southern Miss called their defense a bunch of war daddies. So they're fast, they're aggressive. Going sideline to sideline sometimes might not be your best option.
Fred McNair wants timeout. I think that's probably what he's going to tell his offense here was we cannot afford to go sideline to sideline. We cannot play horizontal on these guys. A vertical game has got to present itself, whether through the air or on the ground. And speaking of on the ground, it was Deshaun Waller a few moments ago that got in for the first score for Alcorn State, a 15-yard touchdown run. Waller, just a great story. We've talked about him. Boy, he closed the year out great. Last year in the SWAC championship game, had 177 yards rushing, had an 83-yard long rushing touchdown run, and then in that Air Force Celebration Bowl, 167 yards rushing in the loss to North Carolina A&T. Speaking of that bowl, that game, every time we brought it up to somebody from Alcorn, it speaks to their motivation of what's going to drive them. They want to finish with an HBCU national title.
Oh, a team with this much talent playing with a me against the world mentality, that's a dangerous football team. And they're really showing off very well tonight. definitely still in this ball game in a tough environment.
Johnson with the completion to Tim McNair right there into your screen. McNair, the nephew of Fred McNair. He's got family all over this team. His son, Akeem McNair, is also on this roster. You won't see him much tonight.
You talk about being coached by family. Tim McNair's father, Tim, coached him in high school, and obviously Uncle Fred coaching him right now at Alcorn.
Pass out and caught. This is Juan Anthony Jr. who gets out of the tackle over on that far side of Shannon Showers. And a gain for Alcorn State that'll set up now a second down and 5. Look at this play. Nice after the catch run here by Juan Anthony Jr.
Yeah, Juan Anthony showing some moves right there for the Southern Miss defense. And these little pick plays, little short dump plays that Alcorn State is trying to do, maybe setting themselves up for a try down the field, which you really haven't seen, we thought, enough of.
Handoff here. This is Waller trying to get loose. Waller he's got it into Southern Miss territory down to the 47-yard line. Enough for a Alcorn State first down. They had just 6 first downs in that first down.
You see the vision of Waller right there. That's a sign of a good running back, working off his wide receiver, blocking the cornerback. Do I go outside? Do I go inside? Working off what the blocker's doing. Sure enough, went inside and got the first down.
Waller's got a great story. Cornerbacks coach Leroy Frederick really talked him back into football, did he not?
No, after Hutchinson Community College in Kansas, not a lot of schools wanted him. He goes back to Atlanta, kind of gets a little bit away from football and not knowing where his career is headed. But talk about a true, excellent coach-player relationship. Cornerback coach for Alcorn, Leroy Frederick, made sure that Deshaun Waller would stay the path, and he stayed on him. And sure enough, look what happens. He's having an excellent career at Alcorn.
Yeah, Waller, they look for big things from him. He's off the field at the moment. Noah Johnson has got Nico Duffy, his running back, to his right. That H-back position to his left. Play action pass. Johnson out wide of Blair. This time a little miscommunication. Johnson and Blair kind of pointing. I think Blair brought it a little more inside of the coverage. And Blair now, right there on the screen, you could see Chris kind of taking blame for it, kind of telling his quarterback, that's my fault.
Definite miscommunication right there. Looking to find those holes in the defense, which is very key for a passing game, to find out where you can place that football. But miscommunication will negate that every time.
They're just 5 of 11 on third down. They got to get 10 yards for the conversion to the Alcorn State Brave offense. Noah Johnson will take it straight back. Wings it out. This is Duffy in space. Nico Duffy makes a move and a man miss, and he's out of bounds with about a 17-yard pickup. Nice feat by Nico Duffy that time out in space. You'll see it right here.
Just when you think you've seen enough of Deshaun Waller, here comes someone else. Someone from Tampa, Florida, coming far away from home and getting a big play for a first down.
Well, each of these teams have robbed the talent-rich state of Florida. Several players from the state of Florida on each roster. This is Waller with a carry on first down, only a pickup of 2. But again, now they find themselves with the Braves inside the 30-yard line, well within field goal range of Corey McCullough, who's got a career long of 46. There you see now the rushing yard stats beginning to occur for Alcorn State. Here's Noah Johnson, who's going to wing this out. That's over the head of Juan Anthony Jr. and incomplete.
But an impressive drive for Alcorn State right now. This is one of those drives, like we said when they started, you go down 21-7 on the road to an FBS team, you're an FCS team. I mean, do you keep pounding away? Do you keep grinding? Well, this drive right here is definitely showing that Coach Fred McNair has them well coached, and they're going to grind and give Southern Miss all they can till the clock reads 0.
Yeah, he was the 2018 SWAC Coach of the Year, was Fred McNair. 3rd down and 8, a big 3rd down here in this third quarter tonight. Noah Johnson, play action pass, dancing in the pocket. Here he goes, on the run. Long throw down the field. Oh, it's in and out of the hands of Blair. Nice coverage along that far side. That was Shannon Showers, the free safety with the coverage on the big-time target in Chris Blair.
Yeah, Chris Blair at 6'3". Sometimes when you have those big receivers, just take a chance and throw it up. Johnson has shown all throughout his career that he can throw on the run, and he's falling out of bounds, throwing back to his left a little bit, hoping for the best, but Blair couldn't come up with the reception.
Boy, what a throw by Johnson there, just to find it on the right side of Blair. Here's Corey McCullough, a 44-yard field goal attempt. His career long is 46. Good snap, good hold. The kick is up, and it's good. He is now the all-time leader in field goals made. He passes Wilfredo Rosales for the all-time mark in field goals. He's put Alcorn State again within 11 points, 21-10. Congratulations to Corey McCullough. He makes history tonight for Alcorn State. A beautiful 44-yard field goal off the foot of McCullough. 21-10 in Hattiesburg tonight, 4:54 to play here in the third quarter.
Can't help but be happy as well for McCullough right there. I mean, anybody listening to this broadcast heard the story about his sister, and, she's watching the game and very happy that her brother made that kick and broke the Alcorn State all-time field goal record. A good young man, special young man.
Yeah, talking with their SID today, you could tell that Corey was aware of the record. He was something he wanted to kind of get over with early in this season, and he does it tonight. Congratulations to him from us, certainly. We're happy to be a part of a history-making kick for Corey McCullough, the place kicker for Alcorn State. 4:54 to play here in the third quarter, and Marchand, Alcorn State's just not going away. For Southern Miss, they have got to find a way to give an answer. If you're Alcorn State and you're sitting here watching this broadcast tonight, you got to be proud of your Braves and the way they've fought and continue to fight throughout this ball game. Here's a look at some scores across Conference USA today. Earlier today, Ohio State defeats Florida Atlantic and Lane Kiffin's crew 45-21. Marshall all over VMI 42-7. North Texas and Mason Fine, boy, it could be the biggest ball game of the year in this building later on this season. They lead 38-10 over Abilene Christian. UTEP leading Houston Baptist 16-14. That'll be our next telecast here in a couple of weeks. UTSA on top of Incarnate Word 35-7. Old Dominion breaking in a new stadium, SB Ballard Stadium, up in Norfolk, Virginia. They lead at 17-6. And look at Middle Tennessee and the house that Harbaugh's building, 27-14, hanging around in the big house tonight in Michigan, and Texas all over Louisiana Tech, 21-0. That's your scores around Conference USA. Jalen Adams and D. Baker back deep to receive this kick from the foot of Corey McCullough. It'll be Baker from his 15. Baker just kind of finds his way into a pile and up across the 30. Well, McCullough gets the field goal. Alcorn State finds themselves back within 11 points, kind of right there within a two-possession type game. And Marchand, if you're the Southern Miss offense and Buster Faulkner, Scotty Walden, the passing game coordinator, you've not ran it with success tonight, but you have thrown it with success. Abraham 15-21 for 251 tonight.
I hate to harp on it, though, but that running game right now, 5 yards total rushing for Southern Miss. That would give all these fans headaches and kind of question how we're going to get this running game started.
Perkins motioned out of the backfield here. Empty set. Abraham in trouble. He will dump it off over the head of his intended target. That was 82, Trevor Terry, the senior wideout from Long Beach, Mississippi.
Watching football for years, seeing quarterback play for years, sometimes the toughest throw are the easiest ones. That was a little dump off with just a little bit too much adrenaline from Jack escaping from the pocket. Excellent pressure from that Braves defense, though. You kind of see them bouncing around now, showing a 4-man front, almost a 5-man front, trying to make Jack Abraham adjust on the run.
A handoff here. I believe that was Perkins with the carry. It was into the middle of the offensive line. Just another gain of 1. And, we talk about the lack of rushing, but some of it has got to be given to the credit of this Alcorn State defense. Cedric Thornton, the defensive coordinator for this Alcorn State Braves defense is dialing up a number up front. 3rd down and 9. You want to talk about 3rd downs. As this game stays tight, they'll all begin to feel big. For this one, you just don't want to give the ball back to Noah Johnson at this point.
Well, you figure these are well-coached kids on the defensive side of the ball for Alcorn. Your defensive coordinator, Thornton, NFL career with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Strong throw here by Abraham. That's the Jalen Adams. Well, you want to see him get going here. Adams can make his presence felt. Jack really stepped up in the pocket that time and delivered a missile to Adams on a comeback. You'll see it right here.
Well, one thing about Jack tonight, his accuracy has not been in question. He's had a couple drops, and this one basically right on the money.
Yeah, Abraham. Well, he just looks the part. He just looks like a quarterback. Here's a throw behind his intended target in Adams. Good coverage applied out there by the cornerback for Alcorn State. That was Dalen Burks, the junior college transfer from PRCC, a Lumberton, Mississippi kid about 30 miles down the road from Hattiesburg. He's got plenty of family here in the Rock tonight to watch him play.
Oh, yeah, one thing fun to watch right now, though, the different formations from both teams. You see Alcorn adjusting their defense now to a 3-man front, showing blitz. And you see right there the chess game with Abraham checking off and looking to the side.
You know, you had a conversation today with Scotty Walden, the passing game coordinator. And right now, that's kind of where you're seeing the success for the Southern Miss offense. Here's a handoff. This is to Perkins. Perkins will get across the 50, down to the 47-yard line.
Let's talk about Coach Scotty Walden for a second. Don't let that go by too fast. Coach Scotty Walden, one of the finest young minds in all of college football. He's the wide receiver, tight end, co-offensive coordinator coach for Southern Miss. As a 22-year-old coach, offensive coordinator at Sul Ross State University, his offense went for 581 yards, which led divisions 1, 2, and 3 in total offense. He's a great young mind, and he's been on a lot of lists for great coaches under 30, only 29 years old. Was a head coach already at East Texas Baptist, too. So, bright future for Coach Scotty Walden on that Southern Miss staff.
A timeout here. Yeah, at the time, Scotty was the youngest head coach in all of college football at the moment. And congratulations to the Walden family. They gave a birth announcement this week, none other than any other way possible, via Twitter is how they did that. Congratulations to Scotty and his wife with the expectancy of their first child.
Yes, sometimes when you talk to football coaches, you just get motivated and get an adrenaline rush on the spot. I was talking to Coach Walden today before the game, and you talk about a high-energy guy. I mean, I think he's somebody he could talk about the sun rising in the east and setting in the west and get you fired up just about the sunset. You know, he's a guy with a bright future, and Coach Hobson loves having him on the staff.
Absolutely. So does Jack. He's 16 of 24 tonight as Jack Abraham, 265 yards through the air, a touchdown and an interception. That's the numbers on Jack Abraham. That's really where the successes came. When you look at it, it's 265 yards through the air to 12 on the ground right now currently for this Southern Miss offense. They're faced with a 3rd down and 4 at the 47 of Alcorn State. You're really in that area of possibly 4-down territory. So see what they dial up after the timeout here. Abraham, a man in motion, a pitch. This is the Tim Jones. Jones gets a great block. He'll barrel through a defender and go out of bounds, but we're going to have a holding penalty right at the point of attack.
Great play set up, and sometimes you wonder how a man gets so free out on the edge. And, well, you see why he got so free with the holding call.
And now we have a late penalty after the call of the penalty, which was holding. And the late penalty comes at the 32. I believe it's going to be an unsportsmanlike penalty after the play. And that's exactly what you're seeing from this officiating crew. They're talking it over. By the way, the hold was on 38. Creo argued that was the defender being held, that defensive end for this Alcorn State defense.
Well, we said some of the phrases.
So it is an automatic first down. It is an unsportsmanlike penalty after the play, says our referee, John Nolan.
We've said some of the phrases, salty, chip on your shoulder about these teams, especially Alcorn State. The longer this game goes, the closer it gets. You don't want to see penalties, but you're definitely probably going to see a lot more aggressive play from that Alcorn State defense.
First down and 10 after a big unsportsmanlike penalty there. Abraham going to change the play. He'll put Perkins on his right. Remember, Travinsky Mosley hurt on the opening offensive series of this game tonight. Here's Perkins going over the tackle of a defender. 21, that was Jawan Taylor who came in, a guy who was played at Northeast Community College a year ago, had 149 tackles. Watch Perkins hurdle him here into your screen.
Oh, yeah, that's just mano-a-mano football right there, and you have to hold the point of attack at your defensive end, and Alcorn didn't quite do that, but the inside player definitely got him down.
Injury timeout over across the far side. It's Argue who is down. Remember, first ball game for each of these ball clubs, kind of a hot, humid night. We felt like the humidity was supposed to be out of South Mississippi, but the Muggies have returned, and this is a big series. You're looking inside of 2 minutes left here in this third quarter. Southern Miss with the football, and it's one of these series that you almost feel like you're trying to throw maybe a knockout blow in this ball game, but you just don't know with a team with the experience like an Alcorn State. Can you knock these guys out in a third quarter? I don't know. This is such a well-coached team on that other side, and from our perspective of digging into them this week, I don't know if anybody listened to us, but everybody that we got a chance to tell, we were telling them how good of a team this Alcorn State Braves ball club was going to be in here tonight.
They're a well-coached football team. They're coached by Coach Fred McNair, who's part of one of the biggest football families in the state of Mississippi history, arguably the biggest, and they definitely play inspired football for him.
Abraham here goes to Jalen Adams, and it goes in and out of Adams' hand, incomplete on the far sideline. Boy, you don't see that much from the sure-handed Jalen Adams. You see a tap on the chest telling Abraham his bad. You'll forgive Adams for that. He's really ultimately been the difference maker in this ballgame. Don't forget, it was the opening play of the ballgame on the 89-yard kickoff return by Adams.
Abraham showing his accuracy. I mean, 8 incompletions so far, but several drops. So the stats may fool you with his completion percentage.
The clock had ticked down a few seconds. Our field judge on the backside of our officiating formation came in to get the correct time. They'll trek that into our referee. They'll ask to put some time on the clock. Each of these teams back in action next week. Yeah, they'll put 1:46, I believe, back on the clock.
Alcorn State showing a 3-man front, kind of backing off. Don't be surprised, maybe a slip screen or crossing route from one of the Southern Miss receivers.
Yeah, that's where the action has been offensively tonight for Southern Miss. Corner blitz. This is Tim Jones. Nice call, Marchand. Jones barrels through tackles inside the 20, and he'll get it down to the 16-yard line. Goes Tim Jones.
I hate to say I told you so, Jason, but I told you so. A crossing route looked perfect right there on that defense.
Yeah, and you just look at it, and they come with pressure, and they come with edge pressure and double A gap pressure, and Jones just comes right behind it, and a nice job by Jackett staring down the barrel and delivering a strike. Abraham quickly out here to Tim Jones, who will fight through a tackle. Oh, and they're going to get Adams for, I think, possibly a face mask or a hold out on the edge. A long penalty throw from the backside. You see Noli kind of give the initial indication. Boy, how about Tim Jones? You described him in the opening series that the wide receiving corps describes him as kind of their bodyguard. He's a physical specimen, not the burner of the group. But you've seen him tonight finish some runs after catches, and it's been a lower the shoulder and just push through.
Oh, the way they describe him, it's hard not to see why coaches don't get animated about him. He's an aggressive runner, aggressive football player. I know that receiving corps looks up to him when they need that kind of extra adrenaline rush during maybe a tight football game like this.
They pick the flag up, no foul on the play. So they will spot the football down to the 13-yard line. You can hear the sounds of dynamite across the way, the marching band for Alcorn State playing here as we're winding down a third quarter that has seen each team kind of respond with some offensive possessions. Jack Abraham in the shotgun here. Into the hands of Perkins. Perkins with some space inside the 10 and down to the 8-yard line. Solomon Muhammad, their middle linebacker. They're all SWAC first-team middle linebacker. Terry Whittington describes Muhammad as a guy with great vision and unbelievable feet. And you watch Muhammad just fight off that block of Coker Wright, the freshman center, who's actually in playing left guard at the moment. Wright was former high school teammates with 57 Trace Clopton right there to his right on the TV screen.
Back to Muhammad for a bit. This defense plays as good sometimes as Muhammad. Muhammad shows.
Here's D. Baker getting in. Does he get in? We'll see. They say yes, he does, but a penalty on the field. We'll see if the run stands. It will not, as it appears. Holding is the call. Boy, but you could see the speed from D. Baker. They like this freshman running back. Baker, the freshman out of Northwest Rankin High School. He was coached by former linebacker Rod Davis in high school. Look at Baker here. Just get to this corner. And just a really tough call there out on that outside block. It had to be the outstretched arm that they called the holding penalty on.
But there's definitely a battle going on at that left wide receiver, right cornerback position for Alcorn. Going back and forth, trying to hold the fort down.
Abraham appears to be changing to play. Abraham's got to hurry here. 24 seconds on the third quarter clock. Abraham steps up in the pocket with all kinds of room. Look at Jack run. Is he going to get in? He will. Jack Abraham runs it in from 15 yards out. A rushing touchdown for Jack, I believe his first of his career. And he runs it in from 15 yards out. Just everybody cleared away, Marchand, and Jack took advantage.
Well, Jack Abraham is definitely a pocket passer. But he shows right there, if no one's open, I will tuck it and run. Sure enough, the path opens. Touchdown, Southern Miss.
Boy, he got a great block from the senior left tackle on the Senior Bowl watch list, and Drake Dorbeck. Andrew Stein's point after attempt is up and through. 28-10, Southern Miss leads Alcorn here in Hattiesburg tonight. 15 seconds on the third quarter clock. Let's speak to Jack Abraham for a moment if we can, Marchand. A guy who you described him just now as no doubt a pocket passer, but he's a better athlete than probably Moore will give him credit for. But he's a guy that, boy, when you give him some time, he's dangerous. We've seen that tonight. And then you see him capitalize on your mistake. And then watch this block here by Drake Dorbeck to spring him on this run right there.
Oh, absolutely. You protect someone like Abraham, he'll make things happen. One thing fun to watch about Abraham, it kind of makes you remember how Peyton Manning was when he played quarterback. He was almost a coach on the field. Check, check, Omaha, what have you, adjusting to the defense. Alcorn State's tried to make a lot of adjustments on defense, give him a bunch of looks. You've seen Abraham check off a bunch, and if need be, not throw to the play that he created. Heck, just tuck it and run.
Andrew Stein will tee it up. Morrison is dangerous, but Stein has negated him tonight. This is Morrison who will take a knee 9 yards deep in the end zone. How about the debut for that kicker? The freshman from Slidell, Louisiana, Andrew, having himself a night. He's connected so far on his point after attempts.
Great story about Andrew Stein in the offseason. He kicked a 53-yard field goal while a teammate held the ball on his nose.
These kids will try anything these days for a social media post.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So Stein with a nice debut. Noah Johnson not making his debut. Noah recruited by Jay Hobson. Matter of fact, in Jay's press conference on Monday, he just referred to Noah as Noah. Like, didn't refer to him as Noah Johnson. He knows him that well. He says he's that kind of player. Johnson here throws it over to Tim McNair Jr. and has it drop in and out of the hands of Tim McNair. Well, you can't make plays like that when you're trying to crawl back into a game every pass play like that's got to be caught when it hits you in the chest.
As every fan will know, Jason, you'll know, coaches, players, they'll know, you can feel the momentum in a game. Right now, you can almost feel that momentum on Southern Miss's side. A drop ball kind of increases that momentum for Southern Miss. So Johnson definitely got to regroup and get things going here, or else that momentum could start snowballing.
Well, speaking of getting going, this is Deshaun Waller, and he finds room up to the 39-yard line. Well, you don't want to let this guy get going. That's going to be the final play of the third quarter. We're headed for fourth quarter action tonight. 28-10 Southern Miss. Deshaun Waller getting hot. That's another big game for him. We'll return fourth quarter action from Hattiesburg, Mississippi tonight. Conference USA Football. Fourth quarter, 15 minutes on the clock tonight in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. This nasty bunch, Southern Miss defense, trying to close the door on what's going to be an experienced crew on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, Coach Hobson was very proud of that nasty bunch nickname. You know, he mentioned, and I said this early in the broadcast, there's really only two defenses with nicknames that have lasted for decades, one being the Texas A&M Wrecking Crew defense, and the other being the Southern Miss Nasty Bunch defense. And to further that, last year a great stat for Southern Miss was on that defense, they only allowed one opponent to throw for over 245 yards. So far, a great quarterback in Noah Johnson has only thrown for 133 yards.
Johnson tonight here on second down. This is Nico Duffy. Duffy turning the corner. Penalty flag thrown in the area of holding. It has gotten a little sloppy on each side. Southern Miss up to 7 penalties on their side. This appears to be the 7th penalty on Alcorn. And it is a hold at the point of attack, right where Duffy turned the corner. Well, we thought we would see Marquise Foreman, the backup running back. We have not seen him carry the football tonight. It's been Nico Duffy, pretty much spelling Deshaun Waller all night for Alcorn State. Second down and 20.
Now it's to the point with the Alcorn State offense. Do you get in throw mode? Is there enough time to establish a running game? Don't be surprised if Southern Miss pins their ears back and comes after.
Yeah, here they come. Johnson going down. It is going to be registered a sack. That's going to get to the credit. I believe a 24 was the first man to put a hand. That was Darius Kennedy, the linebacker, coming up to trip up Noah Johnson.
Third and long situation right here for Southern Miss. These are the kind of situations Southern Miss likes to be in. I just said they're probably going to pin their ears back and come after Johnson. Sure enough, they did, and get him down.
Yeah, it was DK. Darius Kennedy dove in and tripped the feet up of Johnson for a loss of 1. So 3rd and 20. Johnson sits with Duffy to his right, stepping up in the pocket and throwing. It is caught and immediately dropped. That's LaCharles Pringle, who makes the catch back to the original line of scrimmage. DQ Thomas with another tackle. Boy, Tim Billings in the Monday press conference really tipped us to DQ.
Oh, yeah, Southern Miss getting really aggressive, getting very confident right now with an 18-point lead. So they're going to come after Johnson and actually Ty Williams on the tackle right there. But DQ's been all over the place. I see where that would happen.
I had a good percentage.
Absolutely. You were close to say DQ. Why not?
McCullough will punt this away. Boy, he's had a good night. 43-yard average. He's hit another great punt here. This is taken by Adams. And look at Jalen go into the room and across the 50. Adams is gone. Another return. Jalen Adams.
Special teams being the downfall for Alcorn State tonight. Opening up the game with the kickoff return for a touchdown, and now really opening up the game with the big punt return for a touchdown.
Look at Jalen Adams. It's going to be a 80-yard punt return, and look at this seam through the middle of that punt return unit. and the speed of Jalen Adams, Marchand.
Oh, Southern Miss has some speed on this team this year. They're pretty excited about what they have to offer, especially when they get into this next 3 weeks of a tough road schedule. So, definitely giving opponents something to look at with plays like that.
Andrew Stein converts on the extra point, 35-10. Southern Miss after the 80-yard punt return. A kickoff return for Adams tonight of 89 yards, a punt return for 80 yards. Mr. Adams is having himself a night in the Rock here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. 35-10 here with 12:40 in the fourth quarter. So Adams just makes a beautiful move. There was a penalty flag on the extra point. We'll see if it comes after the play. I believe it will. Let's stay with our referee here to see. Wow, that's on Southern Miss. Wow, so that is the second penalty. That was on 68 for Southern Miss. Bryce Foxworth, and that's going to be a substitution on the offensive line. We'll come back, and it'll be Alcorn State's turn, 35-10.
The one with doodads yet. But did you check eBay? For the glittery one and the one with doodads. eBay.
So an 80-yard punt return by Jalen Adams, his second punt return or his second return of the ball game. And this is another look at Adams here. Boy, he makes a cut and finds a seam, and he is gone. That's the kind of player he can be for this Southern Miss ball club all year.
If this score stays like this, Alcorn State's definitely going to have a lot to look at with special teams.
And there you see the injection to Bryce Foxworth, a backup offensive lineman, I believe a backup left guard on this football team. 2 unsportsmanlike penalties on Foxworth. That's the reason for the objection. Worst kick of the night's mishandled by Javen Morrison. He's going to have to pick it up at his 5, and Morrison is going down at his 10. Going to be dropped down on a nice play. That's Hayes Maples making the tackle, coming down for Southern Miss. Another young man out of Hattiesburg, Oak Grove High School, played his high school football underneath Oak Grove Warrior head coach Drew Causey.
Seen a lot of local talent for these Hattiesburg fans to look at and get excited about. But special teams, to harp on that, it's been pretty tough on Alcorn State, and any good head coach will tell you it's 3 facets of the game, not just 2, offensive, defense. It's 3, offense, defense, and special teams. And you can see right now why very good football coaches do harp on that, because the downfall for Alcorn State overall has been special team miscues.
Absolutely. That's really been one of the key significant parts of this ball game tonight for Southern Miss. Here's Noah Johnson dumping it off to Waller, and it's incomplete over the head of his intended running back, Deshaun Waller.
And guess who was in his face? DQ times.
Boy, he has been
all over the field today.
Tim Billings described DQ. DQ's not the most impressive athletic figure on this defense. He's listed at 5'10", 200 pounds. But Tim Billings called DQ possibly the best athlete on the team. No doubt one of the better athletes on this defense.
Absolutely.
And that's saying something from a guy that size playing that nickel position tonight.
Absolutely.
Handoff here goes
Fumble
to the running back. That was Jonathan Bolton on his first carry of the night. He lost it, and it is going to be recovered. Picked up by Southern Miss. Eric Kitchen, the nose tackle, picking up another turnover. That's going to set up another Southern Miss offensive possession. And you'll see it here. Bolton on his first carry of the night. Boy, it was popped loose by Rakeem Booth. Right there towards the end of the run. Yeah, he lost it on the way down, and it was recovered by Kitchen.
Rakeem Booth, considered the leader of this defense, a true middle linebacker. Coach Tim Billings' defensive scheme, making a big play right there, possibly sealing the deal for the Southern Miss victory. Still 12 minutes left, but 35-10. You've got the ball on Alcorn's 12-yard line. But let's just see what happens here.
Booth, a preseason all-conference USA selection. You see him right there in your screen. Just an absolute dynamite linebacker and an even better kid away from the field.
Oh, great kid. 2 straight high school state titles, too. So he definitely knows about winning football.
Here's a handoff. This is Steven Anderson barreling over a tackle and falling down to the 5-yard line.
This is where a guy like Steven Anderson comes into play. You know, you're on the ropes, might be a bit tired on the road early in the season, everything's going against you, and then you've got to tackle one of the ultimate bruising backs of Conference USA, Steven Anderson. So we'll see if this goal line defense can step up for the challenge.
Abraham with Anderson, the running back Marchand speaks of. Directly behind him in a pistol set. Anderson off tackle again. Breaks a tackle, but not another. Boy, I'm telling you, you just don't know how the rest of the season's going to play out, but I will give you one guarantee. This Alcorn State defense is going to wreak some havoc down the stretch. They are as tough as they come. You look at it, rushing yards, still just 43 total rushing yards for this Southern Miss offense tonight against this Alcorn State defense.
Oh, yeah, Southern Miss, high expectations for this season. Anytime you can hold a team under 50 yards total rushing, I mean, you've got something special over there. And like we said before, you look at the rest of their schedule this year, Alcorn, I mean, 11-game winning streak is definitely on the horizon if their cards play right.
Play action pass here from Abraham, in and out of the hands of Trevor Terry, the wide receiver from Long Beach, who couldn't haul it in. Nice coverage applied by Dalen Burks, the corner.
This is where the true character of a team is tested. You know, Alcorn State against the ropes, like I just said. You know, Southern Miss could have walked the ball in, but no, that goes to show you how well they're coached. They put their hands in the ground, put their cleats into the ground, and said, no, we're not giving in. We're coming at you, Southern Miss, and sure enough, stopping them in a bad situation in the red zone.
Andrew Stein with an opportunity for another field goal attempt tonight. This will be a 24-yard attempt, and it is up and good. Stein 3 for 3 in field goals tonight for Southern Miss. He's put his team on top 38-10. 10:52 to play. Fourth quarter. We'll be back with more.
The one with doodads. eBay.
.38-10 off the Andrew Stein 24-yard field goal tonight. 10:52 to play in the fourth quarter. But the character of a team is tested oftentimes deep in their own territory off a turnover. And you just saw the character of this Alcorn State team, Marchand, bow their necks and hold this Golden Eagle offense to just a field goal.
Speaks volumes to how well they're coached and how much they believe in head coach Fred McNair. 35-10 on the road. The opposing offense is in the red zone, back against the wall. What do? You stop that offense to only a field goal. It just speaks so much volumes of head coach Fred McNair for Alcorn State. I mean, what a quality guy. What a great leader. I mean, given the key to the city in Mount Olive, Mississippi, of his hometown. He's a motivational speaker in the offseason. I mean, he's just one heck of a guy that you might want your son to play for.
And actually spends time in the offseason in Hattiesburg, works 2 camps of Adelius Thomas and Brett Favre. He made mention of that in the teleconference as well.
Absolutely. It's fun to learn about this guy. He's definitely somebody, you know, I'd play very hard for a coach like that. He's likable. He's motivating. And like I said, let's not get carried away with this score if it stays like this. This is a very good football team, and they're going to have a lot of highlights before the season is done.
Yeah, speaking of highlight, here's their freshman tailback, Nico Duffy, who picks up 8 yards. One thing about it in this second half, they have run the ball more efficiently without a doubt. And, I mean, that's really what we asked of them. I mean, we felt like that would be a key to this second half. Yeah, they're up around 71 yards rushing at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's a defense as talented as Southern Miss. You have to establish the ground game, and they've done that rather well. I know they'd like to do a little bit more, but you know, they've kept themselves in the game, because when you really look at this score, it's basically off of 2 special team miscues that caused Southern Miss touchdowns. Or else you're looking at a 24-10 game, but instead it's 38-10.
Yeah, how about that special teams tonight? Adams has got a kickoff return of 89 yards, a punt return of 80 yards, 21 yards receiving. Jalen's got 190 total yards tonight. does Jalen Adams. Here's a quick handoff to Nico Duffy. Duffy tackled down at the line of scrimmage. Stop made by Eric Kitchen. Boy, he's had himself a night, too. A fumble recovery for the big guy.
Batesville, Mississippi native, having one heck of a game. And some of the unsung heroes a lot of people don't focus on are the strength and conditioning coaches. Talking this week to strength and conditioning coach Jim Durning, maybe you see the reason why Southern Miss has advanced this score, because a quote of his behind the scene with this team is durability is much more important than ability. And Southern Miss showing themselves very durable as this game goes along.
There you see Noah Johnson with another quarterback carry. And I'm sure Fred McNair wants to see his team battle over this final 9 minutes, but he also wants to see his quarterback stay upright against this nasty bunch defense. I'm not so sure that's what they want Noah doing here, down 28 points late in the fourth quarter, because when we talk in length about Noah Johnson in this ballgame like we have, we sincerely mean it, and that's a player that is going to have major impact throughout the rest of this season for Alcorn State. He would be my pick for the Offensive Player of the Year in the SWAC, hands down.
We knew Southern Miss would have their hands full with him. I mean, they've done a good job overall of keeping him contained. But, this is one of those points in the game where, yeah, sure, he took a big hit right there, but Noah Johnson only knows one speed, and that's full. So expect him to compete until the clock turns 0.
So 38-10. That's the score tonight in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, a ball game that's probably a lot closer than that score indicates at the moment. And a lot of it's got to do with the man who stands back at his 17, Jalen Adams. They've kicked it to him and punted to him one time apiece. He's took it to the other end zone each time that they've done that. McCullough here will get off a line drive kick. This is returnable again. This is Adams looking for space here along the near sideline. Jalen just going to scoot out of bounds wisely, not take a hit, and get out of bounds. Let's speak to Jalen for a moment. I said earlier in the broadcast after the kickoff, in my opinion, this offensive unit a year ago changed when Jalen Adams wasn't on the field. Let's remember tonight, there's no Quez Watkins on this field at the moment for Southern Miss. This will be a different offensive unit for Buster Faulkner when Quez Watkins returns. But it's already a different unit with a Jalen Adams out there on the field.
Oh, absolutely. When you lose Quez Watkins, a talent like that, you need somebody to fill that void, and easily that's happened tonight with Adams. And also the Hattiesburg native Jordan Mitchell at the receiver spot has made a lot of good plays. So they're deep at that wide receiver position, so it didn't seem like they were overly concerned about Quez not being available. But, definitely don't want to lose a talent like Quez for too long.
Here's D. Baker on the toss. It's Tate Watley now, the backup quarterback in for Southern Miss.
Yeah, Tate Watley, the player I mentioned, Coach Jay Hobson at the Conference USA Media Days this year compared to Brett Favre, more of a dual-threat quarterback. You have to be aware of him running the football as well as throwing the football.
Watley here will leave it in the belly. That is Baker. Baker across the 45 gets hit hard by 15 for the Alcorn State Braves. That's Kayron Kinsler.
Freshman D. Baker right there showing nimble feet. Flowood, Mississippi, native out of Northwest Rankin High School. A lot of people in Mississippi know his name.
Watley with Baker behind him. And here comes Baker. Baker looking for some room. Oh, he lost the ball on a big hit by Dalen Burks, but it rolls out of bounds. It'll stay with Southern Miss.
Dalen Burks coming up. You love to see when your DB step up and bring the wood like that. McNair called Burks a high character guy in the offseason with a ton of speed and athleticism.
Yeah, he had 49 tackles for this crew a year ago. One of their returning starters on defense. One of their 6 returning starters. He had an INT, 6 breakups a year ago as well. Look at him there to come up and just deliver a blow to Baker.
Bringing it fresh out of Pearl River Community College.
So second down and 10. Watley will look to the sideline. Southern Miss happy with that clock rolling. They kept Baker in bounds on the play, by the way. And this will be Baker. Well, looking ahead as Southern Miss is happy to wind this clock down, working their way to victory number 1 on this season. Southern Miss will be back in action for 3 weeks in a row on the road. They won't be back in this building until our next TV broadcast, which will come against the UTEP Miners out of El Paso, Texas, will find their way into Hattiesburg. That will be leading and preceding the homecoming event prior to taking on North Texas and Mason Fine. And it's one of those trap ball games that this Southern Miss team has really got to be careful of. But the next 3 really will tell a lot about this club. Here goes Tate Watley loose. Across the 50 down to the 47-yard line. And next week, an in-state rival in the Mississippi State Bulldogs. 2:30 kick on ESPNU on one of our networks. And they'll head up to Starkville.
When you looked at this schedule when it was created, it immediately struck out to you this 3-game road swing coming up at Mississippi State, at Troy, at Alabama, back-to-back-to-back games. Could they get through that 3-game stretch and get into Conference USA play healthy? It can go one of 2 ways. They can come out of that 3-game stretch a little bit beat up maybe, are we ready for conference? Or they can come out of that 3-game stretches with their head held high, their chest held high, ready for conference play.
Everett to punt it away. This will be his 3rd punt of the night. His prior 2 have gone for an average of 42 yards. A timeout here by the punting game coach. Your former teammate Chris Boone calls that timeout to speak with this punting unit.
Yeah, had a great moment with Chris Boone this week. He was a throwback linebacker type in my days back in the 90s. Chris Boone, quality guy, great coach for Southern Miss. Talking about next week's game now, Southern Miss at Mississippi State. That series 14-14-1. So bragging rights will be on the table for that one. Mississippi State's won 4 in a row in the series. And what's interesting about that series hasn't happened consistently like a lot of people would like in Hattiesburg, because from 64 to 90 they met every year. But it'll be an interesting game in Starkville next week. Mississippi State beating Lafayette 38-28 today. So set up for a possible good game next week.
Everett's punch rolls through the end zone. Third
go on sale. eBay.
New quarterback into the ball game, Felix Harper, and he's going to lead this into the belly of a backup tailback now. That's Marquise Foreman. Tailback we anticipated seeing spelling Deshaun Waller, but the one that we haven't seen. Harper, a guy who got some action a year ago, 19 of 35 for 152 yards throwing the football, 2 TDs and INT. They're protecting their investment. Boy, they're protecting Noah Johnson. I don't blame Fred McNair a bit. He's happy to get his team some work and get out of here tonight and move on with the rest of their schedule. Here's a nice pass by Harper on a nice catch made. That was a catch made by 84, the tight end. That's Jeremiah Green, the tight end, making that nice diving catch. But speaking of schedule ahead, if you ask either of I believe both of us would be polled, and both of us would be in 100% agreement. I would pick them to win every game from here on out, would you?
Looking at this schedule, there's no doubt about it. They'll probably out-talent the rest of their schedule alone, much less outplay them as the game goes along. So it was hard not to look at that schedule. If they could get through this Southern Miss game, they're staring an 11-1 season in the eye if the chips fall the right way for them.
Hayes Maples, the redshirt freshman out of Oak Grove High School, with the quarterback sack, I believe his first sack of his career. Watch Hayes here knife through and find Felix Harper and getting to the ground. We were looking at Maples earlier this week at practice, and boy, just a specimen to look at from a linebacker position. Kind of reminds me of a guy I'm standing next to.
I tell you what, it was funny at practice the other day talking to Coach Chris Boone, who I know very well. One of the first players he pointed out was Oak Grove High School, Hattiesburg native Hayes Maple, one of those linebackers, only a freshman, but already has the size maybe of a senior, and he's the next big thing once a guy like Rakeem Booth and Swayze Boozman move off.
Yeah, Maple's going to be a player. Congrats to Hayes. First career sack, not the last career sack
Bozeman
for Mr. Hayes Maples. 2:55 to play here in the fourth quarter on a night that's really had kind of a storyline to it of Jack Abraham tonight really got going throwing the football, Marchand. And then I think the return of Jalen Adams to the Rock, where he was a guy who was off to such a great start a year ago was Jalen, and then got hurt. And then a return tonight with 2 return touchdowns. Yeah, he played in just 4 games a year ago, had 25 receptions, 2 touchdowns. He had a 75-yard long touchdown reception a year ago on a shovel pass.
To add to that, Louisiana Monroe game last year, 9 catches, 158 yards. He was a first-team high school All-American, Gatorade Player of the Year in Alabama. He's a guy that can get the job done. So, say once again, when a guy like Quez goes down, you need a guy like Jalen Adams on your team. And
he'll have to be the difference maker next week in Starkville against an SEC defense, against that Mississippi State defense. You know, if it was me and Watkins and he were on the field, boy, this would be a different unit. Unfortunately, you won't get it next week. You'll have to wait 2 weeks if you're for the black and gold to see that opportunity, to see this offensive unit at full strength. Here's a handoff to Jordan Kemp. Kemp running hard up to the 40 to the 41-yard line goes Kemp out of Kemp, Texas. They really like this guy. They throw him the ball a lot in practice out in the flats. They think he's very versatile. You see him kind of finish the run hard. Watch this as he finishes this run at the end.
He played 2 games last year and lowering the shoulder right there. Definitely not scared to play hard-nosed football. So, and that's what you need. And right now, if there's one alarming statistic still for Southern Miss heading against an SEC defense like Mississippi State, it's the fact that you only have 69 yards total rushing so far in this game. And, you know, if I'm a Mississippi State defensive coach right now, you know, you might try to make Southern Miss one-dimensional. So I think as far as making them one-dimensional and throw the ball, this week, definitely Buster Faulkner, Scotty Waldron, that offensive staff, probably going to really harp on getting that running game going.
A pickup of 7 on the carry by Kemp to move the sticks. Kemp will check out. But a fresh set of downs for Southern Miss. Jay Hobson's club's going to improve to 1-0 to start this season. Fred McNair's club's going to go to 0-1. 1 minute remaining tonight in Hattiesburg. Handoff here. This is the freshman D. Baker. Watch this guy go inside the 40. Finishes the run out of bounds. D. Baker, a strong finish there from the freshman out of Northwest Rankin High School. We mentioned it earlier. Played his high school football for former linebacker of the Nasty Bunch, Rod Davis, who's since moved on from coaching at Northwest Rankin. Now coaches at Florence High School. The head coach at Florence High School.
Middle linebacker Rod Davis, arguably the best middle linebacker in Southern Miss history. You know, had a bunch of them, but he, you know, he was well coached. Up.
Here goes Jordan Kemp, who has broken away for a touchdown, but I believe it is coming back. An area right in a flag in the area right where Kemp made his move. Boy, this is what he has shown. The 6', 210 redshirt freshman out of Kemp, Texas, Kemp High School. Yeah, blocking the back, not a hold downfield. But that's kind of the skill and ability that he has shown. Really shifty, kind of a guy that can put his foot down and laterally move quick.
Looking at the replay or looking at the play right there, you got to love 43 seconds to play. Kemp acting like just starting the game. Let's go sideline. So you got to love that out of your players this late in the game.
43 seconds is all that remains in this ball game tonight. Tate Watley, handoff here to Baker, and Baker tackled down. A nice stop made by 42. That's the backup Sam linebacker, Damian Anderson, the junior out of Jacksonville, Florida. And I do not believe the Golden Eagles will have to snap it if they do not want to. We'll see if they decide to maybe call one more play for this second unit. I think they're going to run one more play.
Overall takeaway from this game, though, the Nasty Bunch did live up to its billing overall. I mean, only 219 yards of total offense for that Alcorn State team with all those weapons. Their team, doesn't matter if they're FCS, FBS, they're loaded talent-wise.
That's it. Time's run out tonight here at Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Southern Miss wins it 38-10 tonight over Alcorn State. Jay Hobson gets the best of a good, fine club and a fine man. You see the handshake there between the two friends of Fred McNair and Jay Hobson. Overall, your assessment, as you just said a minute ago, that Nasty Bunch defense lived up to their Nasty Bunch name tonight. Once again, do not allow a 100-yard rusher. Once again, do not allow 245 yards of total offense. And this just may be who they are. Here's some of the highlights tonight. There's the Adams 89-yard kickoff return. Just a great job by this defense as we get ready to wrap it up.
Oh, yeah, special teams came into play well tonight. That's definitely something you want to see in that Nasty Bunch. Came strong.
So for Marchant Kenny, I'm Jason Baker saying so long from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where the final score is 38-10. All games airing on the ESPN networks or streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.